You want something out of life, you got to put yourself out there.
So, how long is this going to take?
You got to put yourself out there.
Oh, I got to turn off my other freaking...
So, how long is this going to take?
Yeah. Like a pro. Keep those echoes down to a minimum. Right. What is happening? It is Dave Webster, the comic artist evolution. Can y'all hear me? I got my coffee here. I love this mug because of the handle. But I gotta say, every time I use it, it promotes very, very poor trigger discipline. You're not supposed to just, it's not like in the movies. You got to be up here if you're, unless you know you're going to sip out of the cup, and then you can. But you don't ever put your finger on the trigger unless you know you're going to sip. So what's going on? It's been a while since I've had anything put up, since I've done any kind of a stream, and I just spent a ton of time here going through all my followers, looking for names so that I can throw something down on Twitter before 9 o'clock came around. I was at this thing where, how do I reply? Can I reply to my own stuff here? To where I wanted to make sure that I was getting the invites out, but also starting on time. So, yeah, a ton of. I just got to get this one tweet figured out to where. All right. X. I know this is really sloppy, and I am sorry about that, but we're gonna get going here in a second. There's a couple of stuff that came in the mail and a couple of projects that I finished through the week that don't necessarily have anything to do with comics, unless they're bad comics, in which case they do have a place within the Comicsgate realm. So at any rate, let me get this thing happening here. I want to see what I want to do. I am live. I want to view on YouTube so I can get that link again. Here, and then get rid of that echo. Okay. All right. I just want to make sure that I get all my my invites happening. Okay, and get some more. I want to reply to this. Go to where I mean, you don't really realize exactly how many people you have following you, and it's not a bragging thing. I'm certainly not doing that very often. I feel like a poser here because just because I'm so busy doing so many other things, I don't have time to get into being a student of comics. Come on, tweet it out. I don't reply to this. I'm super showing my my boomer here, so just give me a second. And anyways, so I had some stuff come in the mail from Soy Rage, which was really cool. And I'm going to show that stuff off to you right here, right quick, before you gotta be freaking kidding me. I can't get 3 more. What is it with the Twitter, the way they were limiting your speech before they took off and just downright canceled your account. 144 characters. What is it now? 288 or whatever. Who cares? It's becoming stupid. Right. So they're all out there. You guys want to join? That's great. Let's see here. I just want to go through the messages and see if I want to make sure that I'm reaching everybody. Because invite. I super wanted to have this done before I got on. Because what happened? We had a death in the family, a little bit more of the extended variety, and this side of the family is not necessarily known for being super organized and stuff. This is my wife's side of the family, so they had something going on today that I didn't know about until, I was in the shower, and then I start getting a text on, what's going on. And I'm like, well, I have plans to do this thing. So I gave myself enough time to, go meet up with family that was from out of town, and then leave, and then come back here, make a cup of coffee. And then I was like, well, I want to make sure I get this invite out to everybody. So I went through Twitter, and I'm copying all these, all these handles. Something that I should have done before, so that I can just copy them and paste them and get it out there. And I don't even know if that's would be considered proper Twitter etiquette or whatever. But at any rate, there it is. I'll let this go on for a while before I actually put the invite out in the same Twitter thread where I just tried to reach everybody. But so it's nuts. There's at the risk of sounding like I I'm super conspiratorial, which I don't believe that I am. I try to be as level-headed as possible, but the stuff that I think what happens is anybody who's seen what's happened since the election, and it feels like they're coming out on an impossible losing end, is constantly out there looking for some kind of hope before what we experienced for the last 4 years, and before that takes a huge dump. And I keep seeing all this, this news and video of, troops going all over the place, all these different capitals. And I'm just going to put this out there that there's a huge swath of the country that's hoping that what we're actually going to see is some Order 66, and 2/3 of Congress get carted off to jail. Probably not going to happen. Smart money says your status quo is going to be the status quo or worse. So until then, until then, I'll just be drowning myself in comics stuff, and some wine, and maybe some vodka and stuff like that. So I'm gonna get over to my StreamYard and see if there's actually great looking studio. Thank you, Alejandro. Saying hi before you go to bed. 2 a.m. in the UK. This is 2 a.m. is like when I make it home from work. But I do appreciate I appreciate you reaching out, man. That book that you're putting out there, it looks absolutely nuts. I was on the mailing list as soon as you started showing off the statues. But yeah, this is all my custom paint stuff behind me, and one of the subjects of today's, it's this is all painted, and it's basically an office garbage can. So you paint the rivets on there, and even put in some highlights and shadows on the toxic sludge. I don't think I have any holes in this one, but it's a nice repurposing. these buckets here at my job. I get them. They're full of this orange cleaner, and I sandblast the paint off, and then squirt some. It's like an acid or something that promotes oxidation, and then start painting on it so it actually looks rusty, because it very literally is. At any rate, so, and one of the reasons I wanted to call this stream Toxic Mail is because I got stuff in. I mean, toxic and like fun. Now, no, like those early those early Richard Meyer videos where he would crumple up the book, and I thought it would be great. Now, it'd be great to have a place to throw your garbage. Toxic Mail. I don't know if I can come up with one specifically for comic books, but so there was a like a Latin Christmas themed stream that I had seen I was taking part in the other day. The guys from 656 Comics got what is, I guess, a traditional, I want to make sure I got this right, it's a roca. I learned all about it while I was part of this thing, but apparently it's left my mind, and I might have it totally wrong here. It was a roca, but basically what it is, it's a sandwich ring, and they were doing this contest where if you found a little baby Jesus somewhere in the part of the sandwich ring, then they would spin the wheel, and my name came up and landed on this book, which came in the mail. And I know I'm going to butcher the name, but it's Coronerante, Border Mafia Punk. So the lights are just, there we go. And it looks, pretty cool. It's got this like this cool like floral doily pattern on there, which is a lot of times what you'll see on the roof of or on the large panels of like a lowrider custom paint job, which is something I know something about. And when I started going through this book, and then realized that one of the really cool things about this is that it's in Spanish, and I don't know Spanish. And the reason why that's cool for me is because my son is a honor student in Spanish. So if I want to get to know this book better, it's going to bring my family closer together by virtue of, my son literally has to read this book to me. Otherwise, I'm going to be going by the pictures, which I can. And I think I've got a good idea on what's happening. But the main character is going through he's being transported from different places and different times. So there are moments in the book, like this is one of the events, there's lightning crackling on the transformer of this light pole, and then he ends up in like an old West town. And then there's one point where he ends up in the main character ends up in like I want to say Prohibition times in like Chicago, or we'll find out later. I am able to follow this book panel to panel, but I am noticing something that I don't think that our neighbors to the south, that our fine neighbors to the south, are aware of what stuff like this means. Those are just bad guys, I'm pretty sure. I don't see any burning crosses or other insignias on them indicating that there's some sort of a purple grand poobah or something like that. But it's still, might have to, my regular comments, private chat comments. Yeah. So, but and one of the things here too that I noticed about this book that I also really like, because the character ends up going from the character ends up going from one reality to the next, from this page to this page. What's really sick is that the style of art changes drastically, and that really helps tip it in the net. But you can still tell who the main character is. And honestly, like when I start drawing my book, this is something that's going to worry me. I know who that is. I don't need any word balloons telling me that that's Jesus or whatever his name is. The characters stand out, even though the style of art is different. And I don't know if that's. I mean, I am under the impression that that's going to be a hang up for me to deal with whenever I start drawing my book, and which is in the writing stages right now. Yeah, I mean these cars are good. I mean that's probably a Packard. You know, if I looked it up, I mean it's a standard 1940s design, 1930s, 1940s design, but I do, yeah. And again, and the art changes again when it goes back to Mexico, and it's a really nifty. But one of the other things I noticed about it was the format. Here's a regular. This is another one I'm going to talk about that came in the mail. This is a standard size comic, and this is the one that I won from our friends at 656 Comics. So it's a little bit smaller, and it's kind of cool. It's like the difference between a full-sized iPad and a miniature iPad. It all does the same thing. It's got the same functionality. Just it's more compact, and it just makes me wonder if that's something that happens, you know, when you cross the border. You know, when you go to other. What's up, Elliot? What's going on? It's happening. Glad you could make it over here. Let's see. I'm pretty sure I threw an invite into the messages in Twitter. If you want to come in and talk, that would be absolutely fine. I haven't gotten an answer on whether I'm reaching everybody with the invite, but let me know. Let's go over to my notifications real quick just to see. Thanks, blah, blah, blah. Thank you. Okay, awesome. All right. There's people that are liking the invite. If they make it in here, that's great. If they don't, that's okay too. But like I was saying, Elliot, if you want an invite, let me know and I'll message you the link, and we can get to talking. Okay, that was the book that I got. Oh, and it came with character cards. It came with these babies. They basically same on one side. See, and I'm gonna like screw this name up. Choque de Heroes. I'm heroes, and I'm sure that my inflection is, I'm just murdering it. But these are cool. You know, I'm looking at these character cards, and I'm like, nice. Okay, there's a 1 and a 2, and there's different scales of whatever. And then I go down there, and I'm like, yeah, they're in Spanish. So I already know, like my son is already, he's already prepared that the next time he comes to visit, he has to read all this to me. So that's an upside, you know. It'd be like father and son comic book day, only he's going to be doing all the heavy lifting. On one of the other streams I had out there, our friend Soy Rage, and he was out on Nasser's channel. I think it was last night. And I had no idea. It was the first time I'd ever talked to, or to be honest, at that point back then, a couple of might have been like last month or so. It was just another branch of the rabbit hole that is CG, and I didn't know who he was in his little corner of the web, but he was selling these. Like, I don't really do stuff like this. My wife is all about socks. Like, she has like Tupac socks and Biggie socks and Disney villainous socks and all that stuff. But I got these. They're very esoteric to anybody in my household. Comicsgate Trash Compactor Show socks. I actually was like, you know, I had to go back through a couple of his streams so that I could, you know, find some of the names of the characters that are on here, try to cross-reference them with the different names on oui, oi. Oh, I thought you were speaking French. That would be OUI, oui. What's up, Purple Smurf? Yeah, man. If that invite link works, then hop on in and we can talk about your project or whoever ends up coming in here. So anyhow, there's extra stuff that came in with this, and this is the Comicsgate or the trash compactor stuff. There is a certificate of authenticity. These lights are killing me. Ugh. Certificates of authenticity that come with the Star Wars guy wristband, the socks. Authentic. This is an authentic, not reproduction. By the way, I'll have you know, authentic Star Wars guy trash compactor, beer koozie. And then there's a pin, Skiddly Bop button. Now, whenever I get stuff like this, I'm like, it's great. I know that socks are supposed to go on your feet, and beer koozies will probably make some use out of that. But whenever I find stuff like this, it's not unlike. There we go. What is up, Purple Smurf? How do I sound?
Oh, you sound great.
Great.
You can keep your rap going. I just thought I'd hang out with you.
No, that's all right. I just realized my headphones weren't plugged in. All right, that's better. What are you working on? Oh, that looks like a Viper.
Yeah, I'm cheating a little bit.
How are you cheating?
Well, I'm doing the show on Tuesday, and I found out that as my hosting skills, I get so caught up in the drawing, I don't look at the chat. I don't talk. You know what I mean? I get in the zone of drawing.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of working ahead a little bit. I'm doing some pencils and stuff on the piece that I'll do for Tuesday, so that I can just sort of ink it on the stream.
Yeah. No, that's a good idea. I tried to do some work ahead of time too, and then I realized that if I wanted this to go out to all the the followers, then I just started just now copying and pasting all of those names in like a notepad notes that I can, just flood the Twitter.
It's all appropriate. Tweeter, twit.
Right,
It's all
right.
It's all appropriate.
Yeah, flood it with. And I don't know if having a cup of coffee was a good idea or not, but check this out. This is a Topps. Like, get that?
It is a Topps.
Yeah.
So is it a real card from back in the day?
I think so, but he wrote on it.
He wrote his name.
Yeah, it says Soy
It's
Rape.
autographed now. You can just say it's autographed.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know exactly what that does. This reminds me of one that I had when I was a kid, but I don't know if they reproduce these things or not.
Yeah, they maybe do reproduce them. I definitely had shoe boxes of those when I was a kid. They were so fun.
Yeah. I remember the Close Encounters of the Third Kind and Alien. They all had like a puzzle piece on the back too, like you would put the whole thing together.
Exactly.
So, what made you go with Battlestar Galactica on this?
Well, like for my show, I try to come up with a prompt that is so open-ended that you could think of your own example. You don't have to take my example. And I got to thinking about the actresses that played on the original Battlestar Galactica, like Jane Seymour, and how they had
Why don't I know that?
They had 3 or 4 badass female fighter pilots, and it's like it's like that was a long time ago. Remember that? And they were good. Sheba was one of them. So I thought, we should do a little send up of those fighter pilots from back in '78. They were really cool ladies, and they held their own. They were cool. I thought all those actresses were great.
You just blew me away. I mean, when I was a kid, I was paying attention to the spaceships. I mean, I was young enough when it was on that I wasn't really paying attention to who was playing what, but what character was Jane Seymour?
She might have only been in the miniseries, the establishing miniseries, the 3-part show.
Yeah.
But then, there was Athena and Sheba.
Yeah.
And they were all pilots, and they got out there and they fought just like everybody else. I just thought, it was a kind of a fun part of the show that maybe people forget.
It says here she played Serena.
Yeah, I'm not sure her character lasted through the whole run of the show, but I think she was in the first the first major story arc.
Yeah, Lost Planet of the Gods, Part 1, Part 2, and then Saga of Star World. So, well, the reason why that surprises me, well, not that I'm sure there was a ton of stuff that was happening in my childhood that I just plain forgot about or didn't.
Mhm.
It's just more than likely what led to most of my spankings. But I didn't notice Jane Seymour until I was watching Somewhere in Time, and the only reason I was watching that was because Christopher Reeve played the male lead, and I was like, oh,
Mhm.
that's the guy that played Superman. So I'm gonna watch this romance, which
Mhm.
is I've always considered it to be the best of both worlds. If you're gonna have a movie on that is a decent piece of science fiction, but is also a good romance, Somewhere in Time is the way to go because it's a time travel yarn.
Mhm.
And Jane Seymour is the woman in that movie. And I was so impacted, still one of my favorites. I was so impacted by that movie. I was like, who is this? And she was like my pinnacle, where
Mhm. Mhm.
in the Shawshank Redemption, how Andy Dufresne has those posters that
Mhm.
secretly is, and that was how mine went. It was Jane Seymour. Now I can't. Now her name always escapes me, but she was in 12 Monkeys. Come on, not
Oh,
Mary.
sorry, I don't know if I can help.
Yeah, you can do it. Last of the Mohicans, the dark-haired one. I'm gonna have to IMDb.
We need another person in the chat to help us with these movie facts.
I'll have to IMDb.
Yeah, well, I saw the original. I was 3 when the original pilot aired.
Whoops, I didn't do that. I'm pretty sure that wasn't me. No, he's still in there. I've done that before too. I've like hit Command W on the wrong window and whoopsies. Madeline Stowe. I can never remember Madeline. Madeline Stowe. And then the last one was, although the girl needs a sandwich in the worst way. I'm just terrible with names right now. That's what it is. All right, I'm gonna move him off. Say peace. Okay. Power must have gone out. That's had to be what it is. Because I got a piece. This is we got emojis. Something happened. We don't know what. If I can edit his name to something else, but let's see. It's weird how your brain just doesn't let you do two specific things at once, and mine is no different. I can't talk about a movie to somebody while I know that I'm on camera and figure out people's names. Clive Owen. It's my favorite King Arthur movie, which I'm sure people who are like super into. Keira Knightley. Jeez. As soon as you see it, there's no reason why I shouldn't have remembered that. At any rate. So yeah, I had some soy rate stuff come in the mail. I had my cool comic book over here come in the mail, and then this came in even earlier than that. And it just something about the dimensions of the print and regular newsprint floppies. These things tend to slide right into the bag, but this is it's thick. It's not what do you call it? It's not like floppy, but these pages are a much more prestigious print. And I love this heavy metal look that this book has. Jeff Lafferty painted all these, and each one of them is painted. I don't remember. I can't. It's been so long since I looked at this on Indiegogo. Hold on a second. I got a message. I gotta look at because I think. Yeah, got the invite. Let's join. But okay, all right, gotcha. All right, yeah, yeah. Because I know it's almost like spamming people if you do too many names at once. And this is that's a message from yesterday, telling everybody that I damn well better be on the camera at 9 o'clock because I don't like to be late for stuff. All right, let me find this. I was just going through my Indiegogo stuff the other night, and I'm like January 16th, 15th, 12th, 9th, the 3rd, um, going back to the 1st. Okay, so there we go. What happened? Power went out.
Yeah, just one of those not enough charge on the device issues.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I tried doing stuff like that on my phone if I'm just on 5G, but I don't mess with the video on that. I always imagine it's gonna be choppy or something.
Yeah.
Have you seen the Berserkonauts?
No, I haven't. Well, actually, I've seen a little couple images of it, but no, I don't know much about it.
Yeah, this is an interesting video. I was just talking about it here, so I'm going to play it real quick.
Oh yeah, yeah. Take your time. I'm hanging out with you, but you feel
Yeah.
free to go on every tangent you want.
Oh man, there's so many. It is so many, and sometimes I even find my way back to the main point. Let's see. I want to go Brave tab. There. Audio. Okay. I'm going to go large.
Hi everyone,
Check
I'm
this
Jeff
out.
Lafferty. I'm trying to start my comic book, The Berserkernaut, issue number 1, and I'm trying to get $3,500 to do it. Cue the intro.
Is that
I like the style.
too loud? Yeah.
All right,
Yeah, but
so
you just
the
go
comic
through- I
book
mean,
is
that's
The
like a
Berserkernaut,
ballpark
as I
pen.
said, and the first issue is finally done. So it's time to bring this comic to life. And my goal with this comic is to not only self-publish it on the internet and make it available for sale to fans to order directly, but I'd like to submit it to the comics distributor Diamond and get it into comic shops. So to do that, I need to do a pretty major print run and get the comic price down so that I can actually sell it through comic shops at a discount. So that means I need to print about 2,500 comics at minimum. So to do that, I'm going to need about $2,100. So the comic diamond is tough, and it's hard for a new comic to break out and to get any kind of attention. And also, it's hard to convince them to play your comic. So I have a plan to kind of get around that. I have the names of about 300 indie-friendly comic shops, and I'm planning on mailing them a physical comic before my comic goes into catalogs. And to do that,
I gotta
need
go
about
for a
another
second. I'll be
$5.
back.
So anyway, that leaves me in a position where I'm start asking for money. The first issue of the comic is completely done. The files are poised and ready to go to the printer. I'm painting the cover right here in this video. I have most of the original art of the comic, and I'm going to offer that as a reward for your pledges. The rewards break down like this. The comic is $3.99. Pledge $3.99, you get the book. $20, I'll give you a signed copy. $35, I'll do a signed copy with a head sketch. And for $150, you can get a copy of the book and some original art from the comic. And for $200, I'll paint an original piece for you in the style of the comic. Thanks for watching this. I hope that I can bring this comic to life. It's been a lot of work and effort. I did comics back in the 90s. I did comics like Doom 2099. I was on some of the X-Men books. I did a book called The Ascani X-Men, X-Men Millennium, and Phoenix Resurrection, things like that. When I was in comics the first time, I felt like I never could accomplish what I wanted to do in comics. The production line kind of Marvel system of like acres and pixels and all that kind of stuff just didn't work for me. It didn't work for my art style. Now I'm doing it all myself, trying to make this book like my unique vision, my idea of like what like a 90s kind of fun comic was to me. And that's what I'm trying to put out to you guys. So I hope you guys want to get on board and help me make this thing help me get it into comic shops and all that stuff. So thank you very much for watching. See ya.
Yeah, that's a beautiful looking book, and I love watching him like actually. He doesn't respect. He's no respecter of tools. That's for sure. Pencils to ballpoint to just whatever mixes up on there. But it is a cool looking. It reminds me. It's like halfway between Simon Bisley and with all of the. I put it back in the bag. But there's a lot of splashing. There's a lot of feeling in it, and some of the speckles and things like that you would see, like Drew Struzan do. And it just watching him put that together, he's at a level that I would like to be at, as far as just having it pour out and not, double or triple thinking every stroke that you put down on the page, and where's the light coming from, and how is the shadow falling over here, and stuff that all the stuff that when I'm done looking at my work and I finally put it back and I go like I'm never really satisfied, which I think it's just part of the game. You're not supposed to be. But I got a call from my writer tonight, which was nice, because he said he's going to start doing the script for the book that I hopefully will be able to finish before I'm dead, which is it's called Asphalt, and it's based off of an image that I had drawn like a while ago. This doesn't necessarily it has to do with the attitude of the character, but it's just something that I threw down on paper, and then eventually I was like, I would like to be able to do something with that someday. And this is kind of and it's actually still in its evolution, the costume that is. That's our main character, I believe. Right now we're calling him Shane McPherson. He is a master fabricator, welder, is like a car enthusiast. He works on hot rods and bikes, and can basically, build something like that from the ground up. And that comes into play. It's sort of like a Batman with no money. So whatever he has to put together, he has to put together himself. That is our early version of our IT tech guru. In fact, one of the things that is going to be happening with this book is not unlike, in fact, this really ties into what you're going to be doing on Tuesday. All those shows where your main character has a vehicle to go with them, like Michael Knight has Knight Rider. Hey, all right, we got somebody here. And to stream. Hey, you, what's happening?
Hey, hi, Dave. I'm Don Chin. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, I was looking at some of the stuff that you have going on. In fact, in a second here, I want to go and have you talk about X-Farce, because it reminds me of, and I think if this is the direction you're going in, like the Marvel mag of Mirth and Mayhem. Remember those from back in the day, where like they just made fun of the characters? Yeah.
Kind of like Not Brand Eck. That was kind of like in the 60s. They had a kind of like a Mad Magazine.
Yeah,
style.
right. Yeah, like Wolverine didn't have claws. He had like a Swiss Army knife. Like corkscrews and the little scissors.
Yeah. That's totally the same kind of vein of X-Farce.
That's cool. And you're able to get away with that because it's not the name. You're not.
Yeah, it's Tangerine instead of Wolverine. And
Tangerine.
Yeah, we've spoofed, like back in the 90s. I had a company called Parody Press. Okay. We did a lot of spoofs, like about probably well over 100 different spoofs.
Okay, that's awesome.
I'm back.
All right. He's back.
Hi, Smart.
Hey, Don Chin, is that you?
Yeah, how's it going, bud?
Terrific. Great to hear your voice.
Thank you. I was on Smurf's show a couple weeks ago, I think.
A couple weeks ago, that's right. Right.
So much of this stuff happens when I'm at work, and I have to just put the phone on the desk, and then some cool piece of artwork will come up, and I'll just have to like put it up to my face, and like I have a strange shift, which probably going to be an issue whenever I start crowdfunding.
Yeah, well, I do my show at 11:30 p.m. my time because I figure I can grab some people from the West Coast. But it
Yeah.
means I'm up late. It means
Yeah.
I'm up really late. But whatever, once a week I can hack it.
Well, one of the things that, well, I don't know if it worries me too much, because if it's 1:30 by the time I get home, or like 2 o'clock, and I do a stream, it's still 1, 12, 11 on the West Coast.
Hmm.
What I'm afraid of is, like, let's say the whole thing takes off and it's just beyond my wildest dreams, but they're all going to be super heavy shipping rates because everybody who was up watching the stream was on the other side of the planet. I really love this book. Do you ship from Nepal?
We're huge in New Zealand. We've got
right.
It is funny. It is funny how that works. But hey, you could have worse problems. My book was such a success.
Right. We're big. What was that band? Citizen
Big
J.
in Japan.
We're big in the Netherlands, right?
Big in the Netherlands, yeah.
What's yeah, so you're going to be doing a stream, you said, on Tuesday, dealing with the vehicles and
what I want to do is I want to have my stream just be a place where people can hang out and draw and talk.
right.
And there's different political winds that blow within indie comics, and there's alliances and betrayals, and if you tune out for a couple weeks, you don't know who's on whose side anymore. And I'm not about that. I'm about the creativity and the process, and I've been watching the whole scene for quite a long time, and there's so many people in the scene that I really, really respect. And
Right.
you don't have to follow the daily who's friends with who. Just come on, talk about your passion for your project, draw a spaceship, and meet a cool person that you might not otherwise have met. So I mean, I kind of feel like I'd like my stream to be, like the cantina in Star Wars, where you might sit next to someone who you thought was on the other team. Then after you draw a spaceship and an explosion with them for an hour and a half, you suddenly find yourself working on a book together a year later. So, we're all, it's all about the creative teams, and the creative teams are going to flow and evolve in such a cool way, I think, from this movement. Like on my first show, we had, someone from Mexico, someone from Peru, someone on the West Coast, someone on the East Coast, someone from Europe, and we're all hanging out and drawing spaceships together. As a kid from the 70s and 80s, as the three of us are, did you ever think we would live in this world? It's pretty fantastic. For all the bad things that are happening, it's pretty fantastic that we can sit here and draw spaceships and stuff with people in real time. In real time.
Right.
It's amazing. So, just enjoy that for a while. And I think there's a lot of creators coming up to the plate right now who deserve to have a shot, and we don't need to litigate the disputes of 2018. We don't need to litigate the disputes of 2019. We don't even need to litigate the disputes of 2020. Let's build this thing. That's my motto. Build this thing, If
you really want to solve problems, litigate the problems that we had at like 0 BC. And start from there.
But I grew up. I bought the adolescent radioactive black belt hamsters right off the shelf in 1986. I bought it with my own pocket change. So again, that I would be sitting here hanging out with Don Chin, and it's just cool and chill, and nobody has to put on airs or be better than anybody. We're all just trying to make a dream come true, and I think that's the key piece to this whole equation, is that if you're trying to make your dream come true and you come on my show and someone sees what you're doing and they think it's cool and they back you, that's it.
Right. That's how I like that. It's strange how this thing catches. Well, I have to steel myself sometimes because like earlier I was talking about before anybody got in that I have either added to a mailing list and more so back projects, like 5 or 6 of them just in January.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that on the back of, I just paid my house off on the first of the year, literally on the first of the year. So I'm like, well, there's a mortgage payment that I'm not going to have at the end of the month. I can probably afford more comic books now.
Right.
Like the really expensive ones, where you're really trying to, get in on I don't want to be like as a collector getting in on the ground floor of anything, but I think you're more apt to buy something when you can actually like talk to the person. Like,
absolutely.
I'm going to go onto Indiegogo and I'm going to see this X-Files thing, your X-Files project before the stream is over. But I think it's like just for right now, I think that the cool thing between what I'm doing, what you're doing, uh, purple. I'm going to call you Purple Smurf
Oh,
because
you can call me Smurf. You can call me anything. You know,
what's your-
my real name is on the books, but I feel like, one guy I really respect is Narwhal.
uh-huh.
You see his work, you see his art,
Yeah.
know it's Narwhal, right?
Yeah.
Do you care what his real name is? Nope.
Only because I feel
You know what I mean?
No,
It's not that it's a secret. It's that his brand is clear. Like, you see a Narwhal book, you know it's a Narwhal book. And I feel like that's all I need to do. It's not about my real name. It's about that if my scripts or my ideas catch on, people know that that's me. But what
Right.
my real name is not really relevant.
Well, right. And on one hand, you don't want to, like, because some people get really squirrely about that. They don't want to get caught, But then, and I'm always impressed. I'm sort of impressed, and I don't want to say intimidated. I don't actually know what the name for it is, but like Jimmy Reyes, I was on his stream like one time. It was an open mic. I tried to fit too much into a 5-minute thing or whatever. Maybe that's the thing that made him remember my name. But I've never actually put it out there. It says ID Crisis all the time. But he remembers what my name is. You know what I mean? Somebody like you meet them for like one time for like 5 minutes, and they can just Rain Man catalog that stuff right in their head and automatic recall. They know that you not only that your name is Dave, but that you prefer Dave over David or Davey. And that your favorite food is fill in the blank. That always impresses me about people.
Yeah.
Thanks, Elliot. I appreciate it. Yeah, that was a long time coming. The thing that got me into trying to figure out exactly how soon I could get this house bought was that we had these odd neighbors across the street that moved out, and I was like, "There's an opportunity to pick up an investment property, and really keep an eye on it because it's literally across the street." And I was like, "Well, that might screw with the deal that I've got with the landlord on this thing." And we started talking about it, and before long, she's like, "Well, you're only this far away from paying this house off, and then maybe use the equity, to buy the one across the street and become a real life game of Monopoly where eventually I just own the whole hill." And speaking of neighbors here, Heroinberg, I saw her name in, I think it was a Shane Davis stream. Is that where we started talking? Because anybody that puts BURGH, and with the H, not the G, mind you, anybody that puts the BURGH on the end of anything, you know that they are somewhere around Pittsburgh.
Or there's a part of the Hudson River Valley, New York, where you get a lot of those too.
Right. What they just call it, Berg something, or
like Newburgh, but with the GH. So I think there is a certain piece of geography where that spelling is prevalent.
Well, it turns out this Heroinberg, she's not too far away.
Cool.
And she's got some pretty cool stuff. In fact, let's see. I'm gonna pull up here. Let me get through this one subject first because it kind of goes in with what you were talking about. You were going to do vehicles on your stream, and the characters that are in this book here, they each have what I'm going to be calling it asphalt. Because it's supposed to be synonymous with like the street and justice, but there's also cars involved, not like super cars or cars that talk to you or that fly or anything like that, but that build an art studio in the next house. You know what? That's not a bad idea. In fact, my wife and I were joking around about it that if we ever get into a really big fight and nobody moves in, that'll just be where one or the other of us sleeps for the evening. Yeah, the house across the street. We'll just be like standing at the opposite picture window, like staring at each other, making sure that no one's up to no good.
Sometimes you're going to start having pretend fights just to do it. You're like, "Oh, I'm really mad at you." Yeah, I'm mad too.
Yeah, I'm mad at you too. I'm going to
go over to the other house.
On your deck, on the back side of the house. We can't.
Then the next night you can get mad at me.
Right. Yeah. Pretend fights.
Pretend fights.
Yeah. Yeah, but so for instance, like this, is anybody here familiar with the term rat rod? You know what a rat rod is?
Yep.
Okay. So this character here, he owns a Model T bucket, a rat rod with a rumble seat. You know what a rumble seat is? Okay. So instead of having a seat in the rumble seat, and some people will just convert it to trunk space, what he has back there, which basically is going to be a Model T rat rod with a rumble seat. It's going to be a mobile communications array in there, because a lot of what happens between this character and the rest of the quote team is like this. This is basically going to be some sort of a sensory array, using like backup camera sensors and things like that, so that you can hear, see, and sense what's going on around you, kind of like Daredevil, but with electronics. So I'm trying to make it more practical. And he uses this what's called and I can actually pull this video up. He uses a Manriki, which is it's like a chain whip. But he's supposed to look like is an escaped lunatic from a let me see if I can, from an insane asylum.
That's a good look.
Well, yeah, and this is just some stuff that I had thrown up here. Like the first, like my wife got me one of those comic book sketch pages where they just they lay the whole thing out for you, and then you just kind of put your own stuff in there and kind of lay out a story or something like that. But you're not in control of how they lay out the panels. You just have to work in with what they have. It's all pre-printed. So, but like to what you were talking about before, meeting people on different streams, I ran into, that's where I met Julius, who is producing, and I think he's in demand right now, producing the Julius
Freeman.
Yeah.
You know him.
And we met on one of the streams, and I was like, yeah, well, I'm looking for a writer, because I have no idea how busy anybody is, so I just started typing to Clint Stoker, and he wrote back 3 paragraphs of why he's not able to do this, and I'm like, I can't believe I just wasted this guy's half of his day composing an apology letter for something he can't do. I'm like, but then I was like, well, no, he's a writer. He can probably crank one of these things out in 5 minutes. With me, I'd be making sure everything's spelled right. No, that doesn't sound right. No, I don't want to insult anybody or hurt their feelings while I'm writing this thing back. And it was just real pretty. But he's maybe Vaughn or Brian Christrago, and he gave me a couple of names, and I reached out to them, and everybody's busy. I'm like, well, that's great. So I'm on Jimmy Ray's open mic, and I'm like, yeah, I'm looking for a writer because I have this idea. And there's Julius doing this to himself.
He's the guy.
Great. I'm like, that's great. I hope that get rid of this. I hope it works out. And so far it has.
Oh, great. So he's writing for you?
Yeah, he is. Well, yeah,
that's great.
There, right. Well, and we were just talking about it the other day, because I don't want to be so in control that he can flourish in his own craft.
Yeah.
But I also have a set, I gave him a lot of stuff, character backgrounds, like that guy Ted that was up there. He's got his T-butt with all this. So it's a rat rod on the outside, but it's a super, like a computer. He's a computer geek, so all that stuff is in his car on the dashboard and stuff like that. And it's called, get this, the IT bucket. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. It's the Model T.
Yeah, Model T. So it's the
Model T
bucket. And this is just stuff that's just coming to me, and then I'm sending it off to him, and I'm like, these are my ideas, and they have to go a certain way, but I want to make sure that he doesn't get. I'm not just having him write for me. It's whenever I go to pay him for his services, I want to he's going to know that part of it was teaching me how to do what he's doing, or showing me how to go about thinking about sequential art and stuff like that. So we're kind of hashing it out together, but I'm how whenever you have a problem or some sort of an issue and you just need to talk to somebody about it,
sure.
And you're the one that does all the talking, and they don't, but somehow at the end you figure out what the answer is.
Yeah, I think that it's called therapy.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes you're the ball and sometimes you're the wall. Sometimes you're bouncing the idea and sometimes you're the one that they're bouncing it off of.
Yeah.
But but yeah, so far, and he just called me today. He's like, I'm going to start writing the script. He goes like, do you want the Marvel method or do you want this? And I'm like, let's just, because it's not, I've never done anything like this. I know that it's probably more ambitious than it should be for a first book. I've never worked with a writer before. I've never collaborated with anybody on anything, really. So it's stranger in a strange land on multiple levels.
Mm-hmm.
And
Julius, he just strikes me as one of the most easygoing and for real creators. I mean, he's just so genuine, and so yeah, I think you picked a great guy.
Right. No, I think I did too. Like personally, I really like him, and we can laugh at each other's jokes, especially after they get explained to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, not everybody knows about T-Bucket, so yeah, you're gonna have that generational gap of like references, because car culture was one thing when we were kids, when everyone had the Evel Knievel dolls and everything, but car culture is kind of like a lore now that some kids have never even been exposed to.
Well, yeah, like the difference between a red line Hot Wheel.
Of course.
Okay. Well, I don't
crazy.
know.
I do, because I'm of that generation.
I'm 1970. Yeah. I don't know if I'm the oldest guy in the stream now.
I'm 5 years younger than you, but I had an older brother, so.
Well, that helps. Yeah.
But
yeah,
I love red line Hot Wheels.
Right. And
oh my gosh, the paint that paint is so beautiful.
The this mess back here, that this whole shelf with this stuff is on. When I had my shop at another location, that was all empty. I had slot racers going around these two walls and back again. Now it's way in the attic because I had to move everything around and well,
the good news is it's like there are readers out there who will buy your comic who grew up with Aurora, AFX, and all that stuff. So that's the thing. It's like the comic book reader might be a person in their 40s or 50s. They might be a person who grew up with all these cultural reference. That's the beauty of, we're not, you're selling to whoever's out there in internet land. Well, so sure. There's no age limit on who can buy your comic, and so you got in some ways you want to sell to people who have money and who want entertainment and can afford it.
There was this other thought that because Johnny Phantasm, he's got the action figures and the poker chips and all that stuff, and I have a bunch of these buckets laying around, that I paint and work on, that I get from work. I don't know if you guys saw this earlier. I
saw that. Was insane.
Yeah,
that was insane.
Not that I would be able to put something like that out, because that would be like a huge, top level tier, put that X, that happy face thing on it and send it out. But how hard would it be? And it's just occurred to me. I haven't actually looked into it, because I had this thought like yesterday or the day before yesterday. If each one of these characters has a car that goes with them, like the medic character is going to have a custom van with drugs and stuff spirited away under the bed, or somewhere behind some shelf. It's going to be like another little bit of a base of operations. And in order for something like this character to work, he's going to have help, which is what the first issue is all about, is like getting that help. And he's going to know a cop, he's going to know an EMT, he's going to know a lawyer, and the only thing that they all have in common is that they're all in the same car club. So they all have their own specific, vehicle. Now, what if it was possible to actually produce a Hot Wheel that looked like the car that you designed for your comic book, or a slot racer, because then you would just be designing the body.
Well, 3D printing, you could definitely 3D print the body to the spec, and then paint it custom, and you could have 20 of those. And then if someone has their own, slot racer set from back in the day with clip on, I mean, that's totally doable.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought of that.
Yeah, 3D printing would be the way to go for that.
But yeah, that's the book that I'm trying to write. I still have to come up with a better logo than the like circa 1980s slasher movie scribbled across the page style thing that I have now. But we finally talked on the phone and hashed out a bunch of stuff, because he was writing at the same time that I was writing, and I was trying to put everything together, and it worked. and it's believable. And I think it's even though it's derivative of something, it's derivative of like 5 different things, and hopefully its own new thing.
And that's fine. I mean, stuff can be derivative. I think there's derivative and there's painfully derivative with nothing new, and the difference between those two is 1.5 miles apart. Nobody is fooled. I mean, like Graveyard Shift, when that was promoted, it was like, Malin said it's the X-Men except they're the Universal monsters. That was his pitch.
That little elevator statement that he had right there is the thing that made me get it.
Yeah, I mean, neither of those things is original, but put it together with a good writer, and you could make something so cool.
We got another guest here beyond time.
Hey, John. Dave, how are you doing?
Good.
What's going on, Purple Smurf? I like that Battlestar Galactica, buddy.
Oh, thanks. If you'd seen any of my live streams, I get so into drawing, I forget I'm the host. So I realize what I have to do now is I have to do like half my drawing in advance before the host, and then I can host and then finish my drawing on the stream. So yeah, I drew the pencils, just in case anybody's wondering. I drew the pencils. It's not traced, and then I'm using the light board to trace my own pencils with ink. So I'm inking over my own pencil. In case anybody's thinking like, "Wow, Smurf, you're really good at tracing galactic vehicles."
And I run a school for juvenile delinquents.
I was going to get to that later. I was like, who's running a compressor?
Yeah. But anyway.
I was like, somebody put baseball cards in their bicycle spokes, but that your video started playing.
Yeah. So anyway, we're talking about what's derivative, but yeah, great to see you, sir. So nice we got a group going. It's so nice.
I know. There's more people in here than I've ever had before. I got to start throwing out like invites out to everybody, not caring who wants to go on or not. Just a dump of ats. Just. I'm gonna share the screen here for X-Farce because.
Oh yeah, let's do it. Let's watch the trailer. Let's promote some material.
Yeah, I want to. Make me spend my money.
Yeah, let's do it.
Brave, there. One of these days, I'm going to stop talking about while I'm clicking. Click on this. Okay, X-Farce. Here we go.
My name is Professor Baldy. And I run a school for juvenile delinquents. But not just any delinquents. Mine are specially gifted. You might even call them mutants. Trust a few reformed ex-cons. Tangerine.
Am I the apple of your eye, Bubba?
Jeannie Gray. Beastie Boy. Oh, everybody dance now. Snow Cone.
Is it hot in here, or is it just me?
And their friends from X-Farce, Cable TV,
Eat remote control, Frogface.
Garfarel, Meow, Dominoes.
This book has just the right amount of cheese.
And introducing the Newt Mutants, Beware the Rest, Magneto, Mistress Piggy, and not at all breaking the fourth wall, Cesspool.
Okay.
Now, Heritage Press Comics is back with X-Farce Reloaded #1. Don't miss this extraordinary comics extravaganza with 7-fold color stories of marvelous mutant mayhem. Back this book today for awesome variant covers and original artwork tiers. 48 pages of action and hilarious hijinks by some of comics' funniest talents. Heritage Press, making the world laugh again. Only on Indiegogo.
That's nuts.
Yeah, that is such a good trailer.
I remember hearing.
Boy, did a great job.
At the end of at the end of a Todd Rundgren tape or something like that. Somebody in the studio. Now you can like hear studio noise in the background. They finished doing this song. Somebody says something, and it was this. It stuck with me forever. That is so stupid. It's cool.
I'm a huge Rundgren fan, by the way.
Yeah, are you?
I'm a huge. I saw him in concert. I love Utopia. I've done all sorts of videos for like fan videos of his. So
I can't claim being like the hugest like super fan, but I remember that I was at he was at studio noise in the background,
yeah,
and somebody said that's so stupid it's cool.
it might have been the Something Anything album.
Yeah, I think so. I'm pretty sure there was a bunch of. I mean, the liner notes were in a cassette. It's probably the reason I have to wear glasses now. So, what's happening with the with the tiers?
Yeah, we have 3 variant covers. So if someone wanted to get all 3, that's our featured tier, which is $75. You get the X-Farce one. That's a homage to the original 1992 book.
Yeah.
And then we have a kind of a Marvel 1960s variant. And a guy named Rob Willis, who's a very sought after cover artist. He's doing the 3rd cover for us, which is actually I could kind of share. Let's see. He just sent me the
okay.
Ooh, exclusive, Dave. Exclusive.
Yeah, exclusive.
All right.
That's always nice.
Wait, I got new comments here. Make sure I'm not ignoring anybody. Yeah, the trailer gets better every time.
Yeah, let me find.
That's for true.
Trying to find the main cover here. Just a second. Let me go to my.
Take your time.
Twitter here.
The longer you take, the better I look.
Okay.
It's all perspective.
It takes me forever to concentrate on 3 things at once.
Oh, me too. It's so much harder when you're the host, I feel like.
Yeah,
okay.
Actually, it's one of the things that I admire about women and the way their brains are designed. And if everybody wants to know what that is, I'll tell you.
So what I'm going to share is the Willis. That's his version of Cesspool.
Yeah, I saw that.
Cesspool,
I saw that the other day. But I mean, it was again at work on my phone.
And so tonight, and so he sent me this one.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Oh, this is the exclusive right here.
Yeah, no one else has seen this.
You've seen it here first.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, nice.
That looks like a Rob Willis piece, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah, so
You pull back and you see it.
He's fighting Cable TV, who's got the big remote control.
Yeah.
And then Tangerine is going to have, he's got like a Carmen Miranda fruit thing going on.
Yeah.
And instead of his adamantium claws, he's got fruit juice straws. So his power is to be able to summon any fruit juice out of his straws.
Does that mean he has fruit juice straws for bones?
Yeah, I never thought about that. You're making
yourself, Don.
Yeah,
Just throwing it out there.
Just throwing it out there.
With all that vitamin C, though, he can stop germs. He can.
There you go.
Okay, you know what? You gotta
clean up the bad guys.
It stings.
Oh yeah, put it in your eye. It stings. Exactly.
Oh man, that's painful.
You could shoot some juice at somebody's mouth and get him to shut up real quick.
Yeah.
I've alluded that his name is Logan Berry.
Nice. Yeah, everybody who didn't see that one coming from a mile away.
I know. And then up here in the corner, kind of in pencil, that's our Cyclops satire. His name is Dumb Cops, and he's kind of nearsighted, so he tries to shoot his visor, but he's always missing, his blast. So on the cover, he's actually going to be shooting one of his teammates by mistake.
What's his name?
Dumb Cops, from Huggins Heroes.
Yeah.
Dumb Cops, yeah.
Bad
Dumb
aim.
Cops.
Right.
Yeah, there are so many classic covers where Cyclops is shooting right off the page. He's like, whoa, he's just going right off the page. So yeah, that's a visual cliche right there. Have him missing his target, hitting his own friends. Yeah.
Yeah. Matt Yackey is going to be coloring it. He's done a lot of stuff with Dan Fraga.
Okay.
Oh, it's gonna look amazing.
Thanks,
Definitely.
guys.
Yeah, it's important to know who everybody is. I'm still learning, man. I was out of comics for enough years to where like there's an entire generation of stuff that happened that I was not aware of. Sorry, open link, new tab. Right. I want to make sure we talk about this one too. While Papa Smurf, Purple
Papa Smurf. I like it when you call me Big Papa.
He called you, he didn't call you Poppy Smurf.
Yeah, no, that's different.
That's different.
That's
He called
different.
you
Only
Papa
one
Smurf.
woman. Only one woman can call me that. But I like it when you call me Big Papa. That I can accept.
There you go.
Okay.
Notorious PS13.
All right. Oh, I'm gonna get there real
No
quick.
problem. I'm just guy. It's just fun. This is what it's all about. You meet up with some people, talk about books, share the latest thing you're working on. It's a
Well,
nice feeling.
I've noticed this about it's interesting to learn new things about yourself. And one of the things I've learned about myself is that I express my gratitude for having people on my show by buying their stuff, or I buy their stuff if I'm really drunk. Not even really drunk either, just like kind of, sort of,
Just like casually, so. Just,
right, casually,
just
so
like,
like, buddy,
yeah, hey, bud,
all
get a
this-
drink,
Yeah.
get a book.
right. All right, where am I? So you should be at. Oh, my campaign's nothing. Yeah.
I put the link to mine in the private chat. If you want to show mine, it's in the private
I
chat.
did. Yeah, I have you.
Okay, good.
What do we call it? I have you on deck.
Awesome, great.
All right. So let's see where you're at. So you've got, what do they call it? How many backers?
Oh, we're looking at X-Bars? Yeah, let's talk about the
X-Bars.
numbers. Let's run the numbers.
Let's run the numbers. All right.
Numbers, business, numbers.
I'm at about halfway through the month, our first month, and we're at 2720. And our goal was a very reasonable 1700. So,
Well, you must have just picked someone up because you're at 2805 now, Don.
oh, thank you guys.
That's the ID crisis, his reach.
That's right.
His
Yeah.
reach.
Oh man,
You know how far my reach goes? Right here.
I know, man.
That's all it needs to do, brother. That's all it needs to do.
actually, the smaller audience shows tend to bang for your
Yeah,
buck. There's
that's
usually backers out there, so I
That's
don't
right.
That's
hesitate
actually
to
true.
That's it.
come on. That's a very pleasant surprise. So God bless you for whoever backed it.
Okay. Well, you're welcome.
I think you're looking at him.
Was that you, Dave?
Look at the top of the
Did I say
screen.
reaching around to here? That's like
Is
that's
Dave.
what my wallet is.
I owe you, my friend. Thank you.
Well, yeah, you owe me a book. 3 of them, I think. Yeah.
All three of them. Yeah.
Awesome.
Should we look at the comments? Do we know that they're good?
It was just somebody that backed me on another stream that had a question. So it's
Like
not,
you got a comment from somebody on another stream and your mom, right?
yeah, I got a lot on the updates.
Favorite book.
I've been updating pretty much every day or every other day, but if you just kind of want to look at the overall campaign, I'm happy to do whatever you like.
Dude, but I love this right here. I mean, this
Yeah,
is
that's great.
straight, straight up.
I love the coloring on that.
Style art. Yeah.
The
Yeah, we
coloring is
tried
super
to-
beautiful.
Try to make it look like the old Stanley Jack Kirby
Oh, it looks great.
X-Men 1963.
Try nothing. You do it.
Yeah, it looks great.
Thank you.
When I love how because that Iceman from back in the day looked so like powdery. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, there's nobody that believes that he's gonna kick anybody's butt.
Yeah, you're
Well,
like,
I
I'm
like
not
the,
getting beat up by Frosty. That's all I
Yeah,
know. I'm going at that guy. I'm going at the snowman. You guys take
Yeah,
the other guy. I got the
You
snowman.
take the other guy. I got the snowman. I like the big panel of Kirby tech.
Exactly.
I like when there's a big panel of Kirby technology and it just goes across a wall and nobody knows what it is. It's just a lot of lines and conduits. And then you just do a knockout purple. That's exactly how you do it, right? The knockout purple or the knockout blue. So I could stare at that all day.
Thank you.
Do you guys?
You even have the oxidized paper look.
Yeah, we our colorist took this page and I said, go with that muted 60s palette. And then he said, well, I can even do better. I can make it look like it's been in your attic for like 40 years.
Yeah,
That's pretty
it.
cool.
That
That's
speaks to me
awesome.
right there.
Yeah, that goes back to what Purple Smurf was saying. That somebody else brought, brought that idea to the table, and not only can I give you what you want, but this extra.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. Hey, Don, while you're here, I think sometime in the future I want to do an episode of my show where the hamsters are the topic.
Oh,
So
sure.
let's plan that sometime so you can be there, and we'll get 5 artists to draw the hamsters in their own style, and they can take it in random directions. Someone could do the hamsters as mech pilots. Someone could do the hamsters as, you know, the cast of Predator, in the jungle with guns. Just like take the hamsters and put them in weird situations and
I
draw
would
it.
love that. I
So we'll do that in
totally,
a couple weeks or something. Okay.
yeah, yeah. Hit me up. That
All
sounds
right.
like fun.
Yeah, this is amazing. You have so many names involved in this.
Yeah, it's a big project. There's 7 different stories, 48 pages, no ads. So you've got everything from the 60s to the 90s to the 2020 X-Men covered. We have the New Mutants, which is the 1980s X-Men spinoff that they just did the movie about last year.
What's with the? I love this cesspool because now you can do that pig pen stuff, or like rat. The rat fink always has flies.
Mhm.
On him.
I was going to say, Dave, I looked at your website and I was really impressed. I saw some Rick Griffin type of the eyeball thing you have for sale. And
Yeah, right. Yeah,
are you
there was a
are you a detailer or you do airbrush?
airbrush, pinstripe, gold leaf,
Nice.
all that. Yeah, I honestly, I don't know if I alluded to this before or not, but the stuff that happens in comics to me was always a little bit more challenging. I think I managed to get a hold of. I was super blown away by Jaime Sorayama's stuff in an issue of Airbrush Action magazine, and I ended up taking that off ramp
Okay.
and learning as much as I could about, I was doing T-shirts in the malls and like forever, and then somebody brought me a motorcycle tank, and it went off into that direction. And then when you start doing that, you have to get into trusting other people in other body shops with your artwork, and some of those, at least at the time, they do a lot of waterborne type material now, but you have solvent-based stuff, which is basically like spraying, rubbing alcohol or spraying gasoline on something. And if you put the wrong chemical on top of the wrong chemical, then you can literally destroy the artwork underneath.
Mm-hmm.
I had a guy. Some people will do this before they go to clear coat a door, saying they're just in a collision shop and they're not dealing with artwork. They're just dealing with one color. This guy, his normal routine would be to kind of mist a reducer over the whole thing and then clear coat it, because in his mind, he was getting some molecular interlocking. It was supposed to make the job last longer, whatever. And this is where I learned that as soon as somebody says, don't worry, I've been doing this all my life, I know everything there is to know, run in the other direction, because
Yeah, when they give you the Super Dave.
yeah, right, exactly. So I give him this back fender. It's got like a Martin Brothers Pipes skull logo on it, and when you're dealing with airbrush, the media that comes out is very thin. You have all these fine gradations of color and shading and stuff. Well, this guy goes and does his regular thing and sprays reducer over the whole thing before he goes to clear coat it, and it made it look like somebody dumped salt on a watercolor piece. And I went back over to look at him like, what happened? He goes, oh, no, what do you mean?
Oh no.
Right. And that was like, it's like talking to somebody today, like, no, this is reality over here. What do you mean? What do I mean? Like, no, this is upside down what you're talking about. You're trying to make me think that it's right side up, and it's not. So you have enough bad experiences like that, and you end up okay, you know what? I'm just going to learn how to do it myself. So then that rabbit hole happened. And before I knew it, I'm worried more about the kind of grit sandpaper and different sanding blocks and spray guns. And now I'm in this thing where I'm paying money for overhead so that I can do everything on my own instead of trusting somebody else with it. And now I want to get out of it. I want to get out of that end of it. You know, I don't mind doing this stuff here, this, you know, artwork or whatever, and send it off to people, because now that I know what I'm doing, I know when somebody else knows what they're doing, and I can just shove it off, let them have that money. I can do the stuff that's in my house, get rid of the overhead, and have more time to do like my own book, and because it's what I wanted to do when I was a kid, you know. And after all this time, and I'm like, how did I get here? It's not like I'm unhappy or anything like that, but it's, you know, I'm like, this isn't what I had planned. You know,
I was going to ask you, Dave. I was on Preston Azevedo's show maybe 7 to 10 days ago. And he had the car background as well. Were you aware of that?
Yeah, he found me on Twitter. I was into the Comicsgate stuff and trying to get into that and find people to follow and be followed and try to you know, bring this end of my talent to bear versus all this other stuff that I do. And he found me and he was like, yeah, there's not too many custom paint people that are into comics.
Right.
So far, it's just like me and him, but he never got into the industrial side of it. He never did any priming. He never did anything with a big spray gun. He didn't do anything where you didn't have to put a paint suit on and go into a booth.
I see.
He had somebody else do that, but I guess he never had a bad experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just did the artwork and then like left it up to somebody else. And for a while I did that, but the guy who did all my clears and all my finishes, he did them so well. And then he moved, and I thought that's how they're all supposed to look. So I went shopping for other people to do this work for me, and I kept getting back stuff that was like, that's not how Tony did it. And when Tony gave it back, it looked like awesome.
Yeah.
The difference between the finish that's on your car and the finish that's on a custom showpiece, it's flat, like glass, you know, added and polished and all this stuff. And now I have like creams and polishers and spray guns and DA sanders, and I'm standing around all this stuff and I'm like dirty. And I would rather be, you know, here. It's physical. There's a lot of sanding like this. There's a lot of dust and dirt everywhere, and it just becomes so much of a pain in the butt. And I'm like, where's all the artwork in this? There's craft, but there's no artwork. So that's how this is a very purposeful. I'm going to be paying my rent on the space that I rent from until next November, and then after that, I'm selling all that stuff that's from that end of things. You know, if it's not art related, I'll sell it to the guy that does my stuff now.
Well, you know, it bears pointing out that, you know, Ethan got his start doing caricatures in the mall.
Sure.
So that basic ability, like you're talking about, airbrush in the mall, that person who can do, I want this Journey logo or this Metallica logo on an airbrush T-shirt, that person who has that experience, so the customer comes in, you turn it around, that's a baseline from which great things can grow. You know what I mean? That's not a small thing. When you have that knack, and then I've seen what you've done with custom paint, and I've seen your pencils, and it's like, oh yeah, I mean, you've got it. Whatever you set your mind to, I'm sure you're gonna do something great.
No, there was a guy. Let's see if I can find. I know I have his artwork in my computer somewhere, but I'm not able to find it right now. It might be a subject for later. But there's a guy that used to do caricature work right next to where I would paint on the weekends. Mm-hmm. He's an illustrator. He does a lot of commercial work. He does a lot of storyboard work. Mm-hmm. And he's really good. He's really fast. And he was just over my place. We fell apart for a while. Like it's actually Purple Smurf, to your point about your stream and politics. It was something where we started talking about politics and philosophies, realized that we had a huge difference of opinion.
Yep.
And I kind of like let it go. I was never the person who would unfriend somebody because I didn't like their opinion.
Yeah.
Long story short, he kind of had enough of what's been happening and has kind of come around to my side of things, I guess. And I don't want to say like I'm right. That's not the point. But the point is we talk about real stuff now. He's been over to my house. I was airbrushing some stuff on his. He's got a land speeder that he's trying to dirty up, and he's got Star Wars toys, and he's all into comic books and stuff, and it's great that we can talk about that stuff now. Like our kids are about the same age. We have a lot more in common now, even without comic books, than we did then. But he's a really good artist, a really good cartoonist, and I keep asking him, like, considered, making a book. You've done storyboard work, you've got an imagination. His studio isn't set up like mine's a mess. I got T-shirts in the back and projects and.
Well, a show like this or a show like mine is a place where artists hang out, and you might meet that person you've been looking for. You might meet that collaborator. You're like, oh my gosh, you're the guy,
Oh yeah.
Your pencil style is just what I need for this thing, and I know the writer, Like, so I just think, yeah, you're right. It's all about just meeting somebody and not getting shut off by whatever differences you have. I think one thing is thinking the whole story, thinking, oh, my viewpoint is complete. It must contain the whole truth. Like, well, it's like you said about the guy who thinks he has nothing to learn. The guy who thinks he has nothing to learn certainly has nothing to teach,
Oh yeah.
It's
except for that one lesson.
Yeah, other than that, goodbye.
One lesson where no.
So you got to be open to people who disagree with you, and boy, you might learn something,
I love this right here with the spoon.
Thank you. That's written by Mike Barron.
Yeah, you know what? There is another book that I want to get onto, and this has been like an hour and 26 minutes. Time flies when you're having fun, but how does everything split up here? You've got, let's see, do you have a list of like everybody in the credits somewhere here, or is it only in the video?
Yeah, only in the video is where there's a press release, but I don't think I put it on our campaign page. But there's 7 different stories and at least 13 different creators involved in it. Bill Mouse, who actually is the guy that drew the main cover and the main X-Farce story, he was a character artist as well.
Yeah.
World in the 90s, and that's.
Yep.
His roommate was friends with an editor at Eclipse, and that's how they got the gig to draw X-Farce.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you look at Cyberfrog #1 from Hollow Heroes, from '94, and look at the faces, it's a very cartoony book. It's
right.
Incredibly cartoony, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's actually an awesome style when you can take people and make them sort of hyper expressive and their faces distort in funny ways in reaction to situations. When you can distort the human face and still communicate emotion, reaction, it's like that's a gift right there.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I can't wait to get this. This is where is Eureka? Is that California?
Yeah, I'm way up north in Humboldt County.
Okay. Good luck to everybody wherever you are. If you're close to the capital, just go camping somewhere. Whatever capital you're at, just go and leave and come back later. I can't wait to get this. This is
production completed, Don.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Is production completed? I couldn't tell.
I'm about 90% there.
Nice.
Yeah, just a couple.
Not necessarily about the book, but I do have a question about, like, how long have you been in the industry? I admit I'm ignorant of a lot of the main players and stuff.
Oh, that's okay.
So many of you guys are so humble and approachable that you don't actually throw off an air of, like even Ethan doesn't do that. But I didn't even know who Ethan was until I started paying attention to this stuff. The diversity in comics. I started watching that, and then I had to actually go in and learn all these names and seek out these creators, because all the ones that I was into they're not involved in this. They're all retired and they're gone for the most part.
Yeah, my very first published work was in a magazine called Cracked magazine.
Okay,
it's kind of like Mad Magazine, and that was back in '83. So I'm probably the oldest guy in the room.
Yeah.
I've been in the business for off and on for like 30 years.
Okay. Wow.
And
Exclusive.
he did actually when Parody Press was a company in the 90s, he did a variant cover for one of my books. And then Matt Martin, who's doing Snowman, he brought Snowman to one of my other companies called Entity Comics. So we published a Snowman miniseries called Snowman 1944. And then he did another book, which was kind of like a Christian version of Spawn called Vortex. And that was a Hall of Heroes book. But then after Matt left Hall of Heroes, we reprinted that book in color. So we have kind of a long history of a lot of different people that are in Comicsgate from back in the 90s.
I remember hearing Ethan talk about that he wasn't necessarily in Comicsgate. Matt Martin. He had the Snowman. That looks really good too. I mean, seriously, you guys are gonna make me go broke.
I know. I got that one as well, and it's you can't beat the amount of detail Matt puts into his pages.
Yeah. So you are the oldest one in the room. You're born in 1963.
Yep, I'm a grandpa, and
October 19th. How do I know all this?
Wikipedia.
No,
Stalking.
actually kind of. In part of my like doing research, I found a couple of websites that are it's like actually I'll pull it up here. It's a database of. You guys have probably seen this already. Blah, 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 blah. Where did it go?
Yeah, I've never had anybody find my age online.
The giant comic database.
Wow.
I didn't hear of it.
I was aware of Comics Vine, but not this one.
Yeah, I don't even know exactly how complete it is, but you can search through like ISBN code, penciler, writer, creator name. So I wasn't sure exactly what it was that you did, so I just put in everything.
Yeah.
And it gave me this. I'm sure it's not exhaustive, but there you are. Is this part of your stuff here? Did you remember this page?
I don't even know. I can't see it that well. It looks. Oh yeah. That's from Feral, which was in a fanzine called Megaton.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Megaton was like the first fanzine that published Eric Larson and Rob Liefeld.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yep.
So that was one of. For some reason, I got hooked up with that crowd, and that was like in the 83 or something like that.
Wow. Yeah. See, it's and not to belabor my own woes as a kid trying to get comic books into the house, but it was like a lot of times it was like being part of the French underground.
I know.
I don't know if anybody ever experienced the Satanic Panic the way that my mother did.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, let's see.
I think my mom was just so glad I was reading something. She didn't mind. Like she would, like some of her friends would be like, "I can't believe you allow him to read comic books." She's like, "He's reading something." I go with it.
Yeah. He's reading.
I taught myself how to read.
Sure, for now, it's a book with pictures in it, but I'm sure later on there will be a book with just words.
Yeah.
But it's funny how different themes come about in different eras of a zeitgeist, because, if you were in that Satanic Panic era and Ozzy just put out Bark at the Moon and you have that on, and then you go and you read the X-Men, and it's like, remember there was a great plot line where Kitty Pryde and Aurora were involved with Belasco. Do you remember that plot line from about 83? And it was just like, I loved it. I have all of those issues. I loved it. But it was literally like, Aurora Monroe is possessed by the devil, and then Ilyana is in two forms. So it's just funny, like the Satanic Panic, they played into that, instead of saying, "Oh no, that's not what we're doing," they're like, "Oh, then let's put Satan on the cover. Oh, let's have Shadowcat and battle Satan." So it's funny in that time.
I remember that. I don't know why, but I do. I was collecting the Defenders, and when they hit number 100, they had like a 2 or 3 issue special, and it was basically the son of Satan and the Defenders, like fighting like Satan, but my mom was just like, okay, you got this book with the son of Satan and the son of Satan is supposed to be a good guy, and he's got like the mark on his chest. She's just like, yeah, I just don't know if I'm giving you money to buy this.
I love this one. It's X-Men annual. Sienkiewicz did the cover, and it's Storm is possessed by Dracula, and so she's holding like Kitty Pryde's body, and she has fangs. It's just a beautiful cover, and the background is just blood red, and oh my God, it was great. It was that classic 1982-83 X-Men where it was all about vampires and the devil, and and I just loved it. So yeah, Satanic Panic was a thing. It was a thing, and it sold a lot of records, and it sold a lot of comics.
Do you guys remember that controversy on a Doctor Strange cover? They put like Amy Grant, like her portrait in the background.
Trolling.
I don't remember that.
Trolling.
Oh my goodness.
Trolling.
Say that one again. It was Amy Grant and
on a Doctor Strange cover.
And they were trolling the right. Trolling the conservative right, trolling
probably. I think maybe Kevin Nolan drew it. It was interesting.
I'm sure that
I'm trying to get the right one up here. I know like the one you're talking about right here.
Oh, you're Googling it?
Yeah. Oh, look at that. That's the one. This was a great era for the X-Men.
Right? Oh yeah,
this was a great era. But look at that great Sienkiewicz cover. But it's it's very horror. They got into Satan and vampires and all this stuff in around '83.
Well, yeah. I mean, look at Nightcrawler. Mm-hmm. A prehensile tail with a point on the end, but he's blue and Christian.
Yeah. Oh well, Nightcrawler is a wonderful character.
I like Nightcrawler.
Oh, he was one of my favorites.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, it's the hard part. It wasn't even necessary. Well, it's two things. One is when you're dealing with somebody who has a weak mind, who doesn't think for themselves, and they just take all of the hard decisions and relegate them to somebody behind a pulpit. You believe that they know more about faith in the Bible and anything than you do. They never ask themselves any critical questions about why this is and why that is. They just, you take care of it. I'll just believe everything that you say. So that, when somebody says comic books bad, it's actually the same. And again, I don't want to go off in some sort of a political rant, but it's the same thing as saying Orange Man bad. You just believe it. Mm-hmm. And that's what you're supposed to go with. And don't look into it. Don't do any of the detail. Don't look at the book and see that this is a team effort of people putting artwork and prose together and storytelling, and that people make a living doing this. And that if your child is into this, and that, I mean, think about it. My daughter's into drama. I had a neighbor that said that once to me. He goes, I don't care if my kid is into cat burglary. If he's good at it, and that's the thing that he wants to do, then that's the thing he's going to do. And I'll, not necessarily like help him, but it was kind of like demonstrating absurdity by being absurd. You don't take the thing that your kid is good at and
make it bad. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and squash it because you're not drawing pictures of Jesus, which is what I used to hear. Well, it's the kind of thing that that's the kind of thing that made me leave the house at 18 with everything that I own, move into my friend's basement. Yeah. And then, did you want to put that on the screen?
I have a bigger image. Let me see if I can find it.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, the challenge is with anything, that oftentimes a lot of people are following, and and even what they're following, they may not have an understanding of, or they may not be literate. I mean, we live in a country where there are a good amount of people that do consider themselves Christians, but how many people are actually in God's word? How many people are actually studying the word for themselves? People, and this is the challenge. The challenge is that fundamentally, having that relationship, that's actually takes some work, and it takes some investment. Religion is easy, and the funny thing is the Bible isn't about religion at all.
Yeah,
it's about relationship.
Yeah, religion versus a relationship is the difference between doing exercises and believing that this vitamin pill that I pop every day is going to be the thing that keeps me alive and fit. you know what I mean? Like and I'm guilty of doing the same thing. I listen to an audio Bible podcast every day, and I've done it for this is probably like year 8 where I've gone through and listened to the whole thing. But I'm not going to claim to be like even like a good Christian. You know, everybody I'm sure is the same. You know, we all have our vices, and we have the things that we would rather be paying attention to versus the thing that we should be paying attention to. But at the end of the day, I still believe that I'll put it this way. I'm surprised that I actually have any level of faith in God at all at this point. Not because of, you know, what's going on around me. In fact, what's going on around me is probably going to solidify it even more. But I mean, like what I grew up with. It's so much of it was such utter bullshit. It wasn't even funny. And I just, you know, the only person that really paid attention to the stuff that I was doing was like my older sister, who got me into comics, and we would do art together and play chess and you know, experience, you know, pop culture. You know, but as far as if anybody here who's a parent knows, if you really just pay attention to your kids and what they're doing and are interested in who they are as a person, you're going to be having a nice, solid human being move out, be on their own, and be a productive member of society. You know, by the time I left the house, I was still trying to figure out so much basic shit. It was like, that's the kind of thing that will make an angry person. You know, because the world doesn't do anything but frustrate you, because it seems like everybody else around you has all of the answers, and you're still trying to figure stuff out.
No, what you're saying is real, you know, and I think it's incumbent upon us, you know, like I have kids as well, you know, I have a responsibility to my kids for them to know who God is, but their relationship will look different than my relationship. I have to respect that. I also have to not be the one that is, I can't turn my relationship with God into something that actually turns them away.
Oh, sure.
You know, it's so easy to make a religion out of stuff, and that's the whole thing. Christianity is not about religion at all. You know, I mean, the whole thing is about relationship.
There's a difference between a religion and a faith. Religion is something you do, and faith is something that you live.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole point. The Old Testament, kind of the conclusion is like, well, you wanted your religion, you got it, it doesn't work, but here's the solution, you know, and it's a relationship. And if we can pass that on, you know, to our kids, and I really see, you know, I've got 3 of my own, you know, it's like, you know, if I can just instill that in them and do as little damage to them in the from my own humanity, you know, and just help them to grow to be, good God-fearing, just people.
Yeah,
you know,
I'm not expecting any of them to go to Africa and do some sort of, like a missionary work in South America or anything like that. But I do want them to be solid. We're going to end up having debates about that stuff sometime down the road, and you know, my wife's view on it and my view on it is 2 different things, because you know, we had 2 different upbringings, but still it's that it doesn't even have to be like take religion out of it. Let's say, and I'm sure I've seen this trope in the movies and TV before, where you know, you've got the overbearing father who wants to make sure their son is a star football player when all he wants to do is dance.
Yeah.
Same thing. You know what I mean? It's just two different methods of killing the joy of your children.
Yeah. And all that stuff comes out of our own brokenness.
Yeah, right.
You know, it comes out of our own brokenness, and we make our own challenges that are children's challenges. And that's the last thing anyone really wants to do as a parent. You know, that's not what no parent comes out the gate saying, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to saddle my child with all my junk.
Right. I remember
That's exactly the opposite of what any parent wants to do.
Yeah, like that became like kind of unpopular within my own head when I was in the 20s. In my 20s, I don't want to not understand where all my problems might come from, but you can't just lay them at the feet of your parents and never do anything about it. You can't. There's at no point should you ever blame anybody else who is utterly powerless about you figuring out your own problems and laying it at their feet. Even if it's a group of people saying, this is the reason why everything sucks for us. Okay, then what? So what? You're still not gonna fix anything. Anyway, but I being involved in Comicsgate and trying to wrangle this, not like relive my childhood, but remember all the cool stuff that I liked back then and bring it into focus so that I can concentrate on it. I found a Mighty Men Monster Maker kit on eBay for $60, but it's missing 3 of the headpieces. Does anybody remember that toy?
Remind me, do you have something to show us?
Yeah, I will. And while I'm looking for it, I want you to look at this because it's playing on Amazon right now. You can see both of these. It's a first, second episode, right? Here's the kicker. I'm going to find my eBay right here. Here's the kicker. Rex Smith, who was the guy that played, I don't know what the main character's name was on Street Hawk, the guy with the awesome motorcycle?
Yeah.
Plays Daredevil. He plays Matt Murdock in this.
I remember that. I remember this.
Yeah.
Rex Smith, the singer?
No, I don't know if he was a singer or not. He did a bunch of different stuff, I guess, but he was never like really over the top. I
thought he was like in Pirates of Penzance or something. Rex Smith and Kevin Kline back in the day.
I'm gonna have to see.
I don't know. I just remember Street Hawk. So
Street Hawk, man. Yeah.
I remember when he was on the Tonight Show. Mighty Men Monster Maker Vintage Antique Toy. He was on the Tonight Show promoting the show, and I think it was Johnny Carson kept saying Nighthawk. No, Street Hawk. Nighthawk. No, Street Hawk.
Johnny Carson probably doing that 100% on purpose too. Just like, so Nighthawk. That's a good show. Oh my god. So hey, so we're doing vehicles and their pilots on my show on Tuesday. So if someone wants to draw Street Hawk, come on.
Right, that's another good point. I'm gonna find this commercial.
Someone needs to draw, Knight Rider.
Oh, definitely.
Kit and Michael.
Kit
Knight.
and Michael or Garth.
All right.
Remember his twin brother?
Oh,
and
Garth and Goliath.
See, that's a better drawing right there.
That is.
With the goatee and the mustache and Goliath. Garth. That was top tier television.
That's how you get the evil twin.
Do you remember the cliffhanger?
The goatee and the mustache.
Remember the cliffhanger? It was like the immovable object and the irresistible force. They're like, well, I guess we're gonna find out. Cliffhanger.
Yeah, I was like, oh my goodness. Gotta wait a whole week.
Brutal.
Oh.
All right.
I saw actually the last movie I saw in the theaters. They released for the 40-year anniversary Empire in the theater, and I saw it. And I was just, when I was seeing it with my family, I remember seeing it with my, and at the end of the movie, I just remember how it ended, and I was like, I remember me and my cousins just sitting there, and this is when nobody stayed for the credits. We stayed because we're just like, this can't end this way.
Yeah.
And we're just like, that no. Because my kids are just like, oh yeah, that was a good movie. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I'm like, you don't understand. Yeah. It's like we had been waiting 3 years for this movie. So we had been playing with our action figures. We had all kinds of ideas and stuff that was going to go on. This happens, and then they leave you hanging. And they leave you hanging for 3 years.
3 years, yeah.
You guys remember this one? I do. I remember Automan. It was right after.
Oh yeah, of course, Automan. Yeah, Automan was great.
TV always did this. There'd be a hit movie, and then excuse me, and then TV would try to do something stupid with it. Like,
Well, it's not just TV though. It's Glenn A. Larson. You got to give credit where credit is due. That guy,
yeah,
he could turn any idea, into a gold mine.
Oh yeah.
like a season, and that was like Desi Arnaz Jr. That was the guy who was always in the passenger seat, and as soon as he made that Tron light like right angle turn, his face would be smashed up against the
Oh, that
glass.
was a great show. I loved that. The Automan.
Yeah.
It was great. It was so
Automan.
campy and fun. It was so
Automan
campy.
Empire. Yeah, funny. There's this toy. If nobody remembers this, I used to have a ton of fun with this, and then I remembered thinking, no, this is going to make me lazy. I need to draw on my own. Sorry, I don't want to.
With Halloween approaching, I thought I'd do a
Oh, yeah. I remember it.
of sorts in
Yep.
the
Oh,
spirit
this was so
of
cool.
the Halloween season.
I know.
And that
We
would
could
be
make up
of
this,
this
like, crazy
contraption
It was sort of
from
like
the late 70s.
like a rubbings, right?
1978,
Yeah.
I believe.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
and
cool.
it's
So
nice.
that
It
is
was like
porous.
it was for girls, and you would do like
Mighty
different.
Yeah, they had the
Man,
fashion one for girls.
Monster
Yep.
Maker. I had this, well, not this one, but
I
I
know there's
had
like a
one
commercial for it.
growing up, and I had lots of.
You'll be staying up night, playing with this mighty men and monster maker here. This year, your children can combine different chest, legs, and head. They can color it.
Yeah, and they were actually pretty good drawings too. I remember going, yeah, this is pretty solid stuff. I like the guy with the snake tail. So last night I saw one on there. Each one of those had six. There were 6 plates for the bottom, 6 for the middle, and 6 head plates. There was one for sale on eBay that was missing 3 head plates, and it was still going for like $60. OBO.
Wow.
So got it, of course.
No. I just went looking for it when the subject came up, and I didn't see it. There's a lot of people out there that have just the plate and not the rest of it. But no, maybe I'll make a it'll set off an alarm whenever something like that comes up. For a while, I was doing that with my slot racer stuff. Like when this car body shows up, let me know, or when this crisscross track shows up. Okay, so man, so many tangents, so little time. Oh, yeah, let's talk about Tales of Zero here.
There you go. But make sure we've said everything we want to say about X-Farce before we leave that. But I mean, it looks amazing. The trailer's brilliant. I think it makes all the sense in the world, Don, the way you got your start at Cracked. Like everything falls in line when you put that in perspective. Everything falls in line. That the irreverence of the hamsters, and then what you're doing now. Because it's a truism. But let me say this: comedy is hard. You know what I mean? It's easy to think you're funny. And it's easy to think that something's funny, but to actually put something down on paper that a reader you've never met before picks up and starts laughing, Never underestimate that comedy is hard. So I think somebody who's doing out and out comedy like you and doing it well, that's needed. That's really needed.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate that.
It's not less than. It's not less than in any way.
Thank you.
I used to like Cracked and Mad Magazine.
Yep. Oh, and the art was amazing.
Yeah.
Sergio Aragonis and Al Jaffe. I mean, I definitely looked at those pictures a lot, and really just looked at how they did their caricatures and exaggerations and things. There was a lot of amazing illustrations. And then when they would do in Mad like a send up of a movie, like their version of Raiders of the Lost Ark or their version of, there was a lot of good caricature in those.
Yeah, that's what I read voraciously with the movie parodies and that. And then John Severin worked at Cracked, and he did a lot of their satire. Yeah, pretty much. You guys covered most of the campaign. There's the tiers start at 25, and then we have an executive lunchbox tier for 200, and that comes with all 3 comics, a metal lunchbox, a ceramic mug. You're almost there. Keep scrolling. It's almost towards the bottom of the page.
And that's an honest to goodness metal lunchbox like back in the day.
Yeah, if you scroll just a little bit more, Dave, there's actually a bigger graphic. It shows everything.
I'll go past it.
You're almost there. There you go, right there. That's it. So
you can even see the it's got the same kind of clip that will always come undone when you least expected it.
Right. Yeah,
There goes your apple.
Right.
Everything you see there, including a nice sketch card by Bill Mouse, a pen and ink as an X-Files character. And yeah, our campaign, we still have 15 more days to go. And if you guys feel like you'd love to back it or just retweet it, that would be great.
Yeah, well, that's 3 people can do that from here.
Yeah,
awesome.
for sure.
Yeah, I'll definitely do it. I'll definitely
Thanks,
do it.
guys.
For sure.
Yeah, you're I guess I guess it's different for everybody, and eventually I'll figure this out for myself. But how do you know how much time to do your pre-launch and your launch? I mean, as everybody in this room right here, I know I have a full-time job, and there's stuff that I also do on the side that I'm trying to transition from to doing more of this, where I can just go downstairs and work instead of, going 2 exits down the highway and going into a cold shop to work.
Actually, Dave, you're in the same boat I was, because this was my first effort, and I had a full-time job as a realtor. So, yeah, I just kind of was in the a bystander for the last several months, watching guys like Ethan and seasoned guys that have been doing crowdfunding. And then I set up my pre-launch page last year, and I thought, I'll be able to launch this by Christmas. But then we had some art delays, and Indiegogo will send you a little notice that says, hey, just a friendly reminder, you've had your pre-launch up for 6 months. So if you don't launch it soon, you're going to have to start your whole campaign over again in your pre-launch. So I said, well, I better make it, I better do it now or never. So I kind of had a fire lit under me to get it launched. But at least we were, around 90% done already. So I felt pretty confident.
I'm going to be interviewing picking a lot of people's brains on stuff like that.
Well, I'll take that segue into Tales of Zero. That my artist and we started in February of last year, so it's now been a year. And
wow.
I mean, when we began, it was just sort of like, hey, I have this idea, and he's like, oh, let me draw some of your ideas. And once we put our 2 things together, we both got really excited, because the story that I wanted to tell with his inking style, it just like, ooh, this is good. Let's do one more page. Let's do one more page. Let's do one more page. And then I was like, well, the whole story is 44 pages. And I'm like, well, how long is that going to take? And then we sort of took a deep breath, and we said, let's rough it out. Let's do a rough version of the entire book. See how it reads, see how the flow is, and then crowdfund the real book, and all that we'll have to do at that point is just do final inks, final colors, and the lettering. So we have the whole book written, illustrated, and colored, but my artist is really a wizard with ink. He can take one brush and do a complete illustration with one brush and one ink pot. It's ridiculous how good he is. And so the inks haven't even gone down yet. When you see these sample pages, that's all just pencils. But some of it is so cinematic, even as just with pencils. So, I mean, we had the same thing too. It's like, well, when do we launch? What do we do? And so I made up my mind that we were going to launch the day after Valentine's Day, because I thought that would be easy to remember, Like, okay, we're going to launch the day after Valentine's Day. That's easy to remember. We're going to remember that. So as we kind of do the build up here, next week, I want to launch a fan art contest, and get people drawing our characters. And that'll be about 1 month away from launch, right? The 15th just passed. And just get the word out, go on more and more shows. But the thing about Tales of Zero is that it's really a story that you can enter without any preconceived ideas or understandings. It opens in a tavern. It's basically, how can I put it? It's like a sci-fi jungle archaeology horror story. So the first scene is in a tavern, and you've got the people chatting, and our protagonists are these 2. Basically, they're like construction workers, and they helped build the city, this mining colony on another planet. But the company that built the colony used to give the workers this stimulant. They called it the juice. And when they gave the workers this juice, they could work 12-hour days, 20-hour days. They would take risks. They would put themselves in dangerous situations and they wouldn't be afraid. So by giving the workers this juice, they were able to build the structure of the colony very quickly. But now all those people are old. And if they stop drinking the juice, they age rapidly and die. So now they're all addicted to the juice and they can't quit. So our two guys are these construction workers who just hang around the mining colony doing odd jobs just to get the juice. You know?
Yeah.
And so in the opening scene is our two guys meet up with this young kid, and the young kid is like chatting with them and saying, you know, you guys lived, you actually went outside, you built things. I've just been raised inside the colony. I don't even know what's out there. And so they're kind of sharing their two perspectives. And then Zero, the main character, says, well, I remember I heard a story that there's this artifact out in the jungle, you know, and if we got out and got that artifact, we'd have juice money for life and you'd have your adventure. So that's the setup of the story. Is the young kid who's never left the city with the two construction workers go out to get the alien artifact from the jungle. What could possibly go wrong? And of course, the answer is they unearth a cosmic horror that tries to eat them, right? And so it's just a very classic, it's sort of Indiana Jones meets Alien, where you have this adventurer, you have this archaeological quest, but then you awaken some monster that nobody knew was there, and then the rest of the book is the sort of the thrill ride of getting our heroes into danger, and will they make it, and how do they respond, how do each of them respond. And so that's the whole story. It's a self-contained story, but we picture it as being part of a universe in that Zero is, because he has the juice, there's no way to tell his actual age.
Okay.
So he's telling you these stories, and so this is the story he tells you of. Remember the time on Zeta 3, and he tells you this story, episode 1, right, which is a 44-page, 48-page graphic novel. But at the end, he's like, that was a long time ago, and the way I drink this juice, I mean, really, how long was it? But, you know, next time, let me tell you about... So every story is just him telling you a story. But because his age is so indeterminate, he could tell you a story about when he's 20, when he's 30, when he's 40, and it can stretch out over hundreds and hundreds of years, because theoretically he could live a long time if he has enough of this juice. You know, he can sort of reverse his own aging process. So we have about 5 storylines planned out if this one is a success, and it's just, all it is Tales of Zero. He's going to say, you know, this one time when I was just getting started, and this is the tease for the second episode. It goes like this: you know, when I was just getting started, I was like the second in command on a space freighter. It wasn't a glamorous job, but for a kid like me, it was really something, you know. So here's what happened: we picked up a hitchhiker. ... There you go. So that's episode 2. You know what I mean? Where it's like, from that premise, just imagine what could happen, you know. And just like this one, it's like, you know, there's this artifact in the jungle. Let's go get it. So I think what I like about our story is that it's just good old fashioned adventure. It's just an adventure, you know. There's not a genre. You don't have to be like, well, I like this genre, but not this genre. It's a little bit bigger than that. The genre is just sort of like storytelling, you know.
Yeah.
Zero is the storyteller, and within the frame of the story. But then me and Matt are the storytellers once you're into the comic. So that's all it is. It's got scares, it's got laughs, it's got irony, it's got humor, it's got horror, and then at the end you're like, whoo, you know, it kind of an exhilarating finish. So that's my reason you should back Tales of Zero, because it's just sort of like a movie that's fun to watch and fun to rewatch, you know.
Very cool. Man.
You want to check out the? You want?
Yeah, let's watch the trailer.
Is that ever too loud?
Yeah, but I'm not seeing the images, or is everyone else seeing it?
You're not?
Maybe you are. Yeah. Let's hold on.
Yeah, we see them.
Oh, awesome. Cool.
Cool trailer, man.
Yeah, thanks. I was told keep it under a minute, right? But I thought I said a lot without even any talking, right?
And right to Eminem's stuck in nose. This is what YouTube thinks I want to watch next after
Oh,
watching.
but it did put one of my see, I have a YouTube channel. See that mushroom house there?
Yeah.
That's my icon. So
Right.
if you click on that, I have actually I guess I should say that the story that we're telling. Oh, I hear my theme music. Oh
You
yeah.
want to keep going?
Oh, well, I don't know which episode it is. What is it? Does it say California Lovecraft? What episode is that?
Wampa Tales.
Oh, that's a good one too. But the best one to follow that one would be California Lovecraft. But let me set it up. So,
Okay.
Lovecraft. There's a show, Lovecraft Country. Everything is described as Lovecraftian. It's like he's having a little heyday, both of a heyday and a hate day, right? There's
Yeah.
like a fandom, and then there's a people who want to cancel him. So, but whatever. There's no bad publicity when you're Lovecraft, right? It's not hurting him anymore. He's beyond that. So I was a huge fan of Lovecraft as a teenager. I devoured all of it. I think by the age of 14, I'd read everything that was formally published. And but it's funny. There's something right next door that you never knew about, and so I never knew about Clark Ashton Smith. Somehow I read every piece of Lovecraft, and no one tapped me on the shoulder and said you should also check out Clark Ashton Smith. He was just like the California version of Lovecraft. No one said that to me. And so I didn't discover Clark Ashton Smith until about 3 or 4 years ago. And so Tales of Zero is actually kind of a celebration of Clark Ashton Smith as well, because he was Lovecraft's kind of in his circle. They wrote letters together. They compared story ideas. They would borrow each other's gods and goddesses and names for weird planets and names for weird devices. So they swapped ideas all the time. But as I say in my video, the California Lovecraft, just imagine a version of Lovecraft, and instead of knocking around the streets of Providence, in the dark, rainy New England cobblestones, imagine the California Lovecraft in the Bay Area, going hiking in the hills. That's a whole different flavor, and that's Clark Ashton Smith. So he is amazing. If you want to, we're taking our time. If you want to, it's a pretty short video. You can play it. It's a good introduction to who Clark Ashton Smith is, and Tales of Zero is basically our character Zero is based on a character that he included in 2 of his stories. It's sort of like Conan. It's like these were public domain characters back then. So if we take and we tell more stories with Zero, that's fine. That's just celebrating his legacy. That's not derivative at all. That's taking a character that he only had time to write 2 stories. Well, we could write 9 stories with Zero in it, right?
Yeah.
So it's sort of like paying homage to Clark Ashton Smith in that way. But if you look into his life and everything, he was such a brilliant individual. He grew up in this little cabin, barely had running water his entire life. Mostly self-educated, but taught himself to speak and translate French, translated Baudelaire. So he's just sort of like self-educated California kid and just an amazing writer. So I don't know if you want to watch a little bit of my
Okay.
my video, the California Lovecraft. It's pretty good. And then maybe people will check out my other videos.
Okay, let me see where.
And Heroinberg, absolutely. Nucleus, when they had their record cover, it was in comic book style.
Yes, y'all. Get on.
Heroinberg, you remember this one? See
Where-
if Heroinberg knows the artist on this one.
Which one? do you want?
Heroinberg and I are finding out that we both like electro hip hop. All right.
I had a question about this real quick.
Sure.
Because what does this mean? What does Wheeze is the juice?
I don't know.
I put this up before.
Heroin-
Will work for juice.
I don't know.
Your guys around the mine doing their work, wanting to do it for juice. It was like reminding me of a homeless sign. Will work for
Well,
juice.
yeah, at this point, right. It's sort of like the hobo culture,
What does Wheeze is the juice?
I don't
mean?
know.
That might be
Heroinberg-
outside my culture.
Yeah. Heroinberg, tell us what it means to wheeze the juice, because we don't know.
Yeah.
All right, let's watch this little
All right.
video here about Clark Ashton Smith.
Go.
And
Is
Heroinberg,
this the
tell
right
me if
one,
you can
though?
name the artist of my theme song.
Wampa Tales is the
No,
right.
no,
Sorry.
no, don't watch. Here, can you click on one that's called the California Lovecraft? Go to my channel. See, the folks at home can do this. Folks at home, go to my channel,
folks at home
like
can
and subscribe.
Dave can't do it.
Ring the bell. See, I don't promote my channel at all. I really should.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I had subscribed to a channel. I couldn't figure out why I wasn't getting anything. I didn't have the bell.
Yeah. Do you see? There should be one that has a beautiful picture of. There it is. See the California Lovecraft.
Yeah, where am I at? California Lovecraft.
It's
What,
the
right?
middle row, second one.
Middle row second. Oh, this one.
Yeah, hit that one.
Okay,
Hit that one.
got it.
And
Got
make
it.
it full screen now. We're gonna.
Yep.
I put a lot of effort
Y'all,
into these
get
introductions.
on, Doc. Let's murk it up. You see, it's time to rock. I can't get y'all. Get on quick. If you were looking for a party, this is it.
Don't tell me that's Grandmaster Flash.
Yeah, exactly. It's Spider D. Spider D.
Purple skirt. It will be dangerous. Are there any volunteers?
Hey everybody, it's your good friend Purple Smurf with another trip under the mushroom cap. Today I want to talk about Clark Ashton Smith. He's a writer, a painter, a sculptor, and it's his work that my comic, Tales of Zero, is based on. So let's call him, for the sake of this little discussion, the California Lovecraft. Okay, picture Lovecraft. He's this tall, gaunt, pale, gangly guy knocking about the streets of Providence, Rhode Island, shuffling down the rainy, dark, twisted cobblestone lanes. He practically looks like a character from Edgar Allan Poe.
I was just going to say very Poe.
If there was a California Lovecraft, a Lovecraft who spent more time outside in green, rolling hills and pasture lands, a Lovecraft who was frequenting the Bay Area, Mount Shasta, the outdoorsy Lovecraft, if you will. Well, that's, my friend, is Clark Ashton Smith. He's just an incredible writer. His visionary powers, his powers to take you from the seat you're sitting in to some otherworldly realm, are equal to, if not in times, surpassing Lovecraft. And part of the reason I say that is the variety of scenes that Smith can bring you to, where Lovecraft leaves off and says, I stared into an abyss too horrible to describe. Clark Ashton Smith will simply arrive there before you've had a chance to realize that you made the journey. Then you and the protagonist start to put together the world you're in. And if you've never read anything by Smith, I would like to recommend one for you. A story for all you Lovecraftianados. If you're a huge Lovecraft fan, you've read them all, you love The Shadow Out of Time, like most of us do, I'm going to give you a recommendation. It's called The City of the Singing Flame. I'm going to give you a quick summary for this episode of Under the Mushroom Cap, and then you go check it out. Maybe you will have a new favorite cosmic horror writer. So, The City of the Singing Flame. Here's a little quick story summary. Remember all those Lovecraft stories, like In the Vault, or The Statement of Randolph Carter, or The Hound? And it's basically, there's two guys, they make an agreement to get together and go to some dank cyclopean moss-covered vault in the middle of the night on a certain day of the year, and in the dark Stygian depths they encounter something horrendous. That's a very typical Lovecraftian setup. Listen to the California Lovecraft. A writer and his two writer friends go camping in the California mountains in the bright sunlight. See the difference? It's wonderful. So in the bright sunlight they go camping, and then they notice that certain stubby rocks look like they could be the columns of a strange antediluvian civilization. You see, the California Lovecraft. Isn't this great? It happens in the daylight instead of in the dark Stygian nights of a bayou or Providence graveyard. So one of them finds two of these little stubby green stones that look like the bases of eroded columns. And when he steps through, he enters a dimensional gateway, falling and falling. And this is how they meet out, where Lovecraft would pause and say, I stood on an abyss of a cosmic vista too bizarre to explain. Smith just puts you in the first-person narrator's shoes and has you fall through that dimensional gateway himself. Then, in the eyes of this character, you wake up, and in this altered dimension, he discovers the City of the Singing Flame. I can't even tell you how beautifully it's described. But if you've ever seen the movie Fantastic Planet, it has shades of that to it. I just don't want to spoil it for you. But it is absolutely a phenomenal story. If you've never read anything by Smith and you're a Lovecraft fan and you want a new favorite writer, check out City of the Singing Flame. In fact, it's so good, he wrote a sequel to it, and the sequel doesn't suck. Anyway, that's it for Under the Mushroom Cap. Check out the California Lovecraft, Clark Ashton Smith. And he is the inspiration for my comic, Tales of Zero, available on Indiegogo.
All right, you can pause it.
Right. Lines by the incomparable Matthew Queen, script and colors by me, the Purple Smurf. And it's going to take you on your own psychedelic, multicolored Lovecraft.
I'll just hit the space bar.
So that kind of gets you into the world of what I'm talking about, where like, Lovecraft literally will take you, but then when you see the thing, he won't describe it. Where I think Smith's thing is put you there, and you're there before you know it. You've crossed into that other realm before you know it, and then you start to figure it out.
Right.
And it's a wonderful way that he does it, different than Lovecraft. And his abilities to describe these otherworldly places, beings, it's just phenomenal. It's phenomenal. So we're proud to kind of maybe bring some of his work a little more attention in our own way.
For those who can afford to read, at least stop and read actual books. This looks like the Clark Ashton Smith collection on Audible.
Oh yeah, they're so good. A lot of them can be found on YouTube too in the audio version, and they're so good.
Yeah, I actually, there was the Lies of Locke Lamore. I listened to that from YouTube, but which is great when people do that. I mean, I guess it means you're taking money out of somebody's pocket. But the other thing is, you better remember exactly the time signature or the time code that you were on before you hit stop, or you're going to be sitting there scrolling, especially on your phone, like stop right there, and try to take your finger off and not have the slider. Well, I have to check this out, because sometimes these ones on Audible, they'll be included with you'll go looking for a book and you might get lucky. It might just be included and you won't have to spend a credit on it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So
the thing with these guys, a lot of the Weird Tales authors, their stuff is in the public domain at this point. So, it's stuff that was published in 1929, I think, 1929 or 1933. And that's a fun thing. When you listen to the Weird Tales writers like Clark Ashton Smith, I mean, I feel like I could do, and who knows, in the run up to Tales of Zero, maybe I will. I think I could do an hour on Clark Ashton Smith, because I believe our story is one, but I believe you can give him credit unofficially for writing the story of the movie Alien.
Okay.
His version was called The Vaults of Yovombis. But our story that we're telling, the Tales of Zero story, is also in that same vein, where like you find a relic. Remember, they find the relic of the Nostromo. They don't know what it is.
Right.
They're exploring the relic. They think they found something cool, and then a cosmic horror picks them off one by one. Right.
Right.
That was Clark Ashton Smith's bread and butter story setup.
Wow.
He in his I want to do one about the hero's journey. Clark Ashton Smith's hero's journey is different. This is how the Clark Ashton Smith hero's journey goes. A bunch of likable people set off on an adventure for a quest for an item. It's as they go along the quest, you get to know and really like them. Then signs begin to appear showing that they should in no ways finish this journey. But of course, they soldier on. And you, the reader, are like, no! And then the cosmic horror kills them one at a time. And then in the final scene, the cosmic horror kills the protagonist. And that's how the story ends. That's the Clark Ashton Smith hero's journey. It's like the antithesis of the hero's journey, where like the conclusion is the inevitable death of the protagonist at the hands of the cosmic horror. And so, but he does it so beautifully that you love it, you savor it. It's so well done. It's like Moby Dick. In Moby Dick, the famous thing is that Ishmael says, and none was left to tell the tale. Well, if nobody survived, who's telling the tale, right?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Clark Ashton Smith does. He tells you the story in which they all go in search of the white whale. The white whale kills every single one of them, and then you put the book down and go, well, wait, who was telling the story then, right?
Yeah.
And so,
right. Like, didn't everybody die at the end of Cabin in the Woods?
Yeah. And so, the Vaults of Yovombis is a story where these guys are exploring, searching for something. They find an alien artifact. They explore down into the bowels of it, and then they see that there is this thing. It's like a slimy bat pancake, and it falls on the head. It literally falls on the head, and when it falls on the head, it covers the face and then infects the person with the alien. So the face hugger. He literally invented the face hugger in 1933.
That's crazy.
So, and then there's another one in the same idiom. It's called The Weaver in the Vault, and that one is so great. It's so good because it's kind of fantasy. You can't tell whether and this is another thing with Clark Ashton, but you can't tell whether it's Dungeons and Dragons or sci-fi. He puts you in a place where you pause between fantasy and sci-fi. You have elements of both. So he sends these guys on the quest, and then finally, when the Weaver in the Vault, which is the name of the monster, he has the final scene is the party is outnumbered. in the dungeon, it's over, and the Weaver in the Vault just slowly ends them, and it's told very slowly, and you are reading the book and you are terrified, because it's like the last person to go is the person telling the story. So it's wonderful.
I had a cross stuck between my mattress and box spring when I was a kid after I read Salem's Lot. No lie. No, literally. And I remember this. I had my brother and I shared a room, but in the light switch was on the opposite side from where my bed was. I had a string tied around the light switch underneath his bed frame and over to mine so that I could pull on the string and shut the light out after I got in bed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That book messed me up.
Yeah, Lovecraft says in his essay, Supernatural Fiction and Literature, he goes, the oldest emotion is fear, and the strongest fear is fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
It's really hard to dispute that. And so his claim is that because of that, weird fiction and spooky stories have a central place in the human experience because they tap into the oldest emotion. I mean, it's like actually a pretty good theory.
Mm-hmm. I got on the list. I thought I was on there before, but I double checked my mail.
It's like being scared by a good, scary storyteller is a great experience. It's a great humanizing experience because he's putting you in touch with all of those fears we carry with us through evolution and through millennia and centuries. The fear of the unknown, the fear of being eaten by the monster. I mean, these are such primal fears. When a great storyteller scares you, it's exhilarating,
The weasel. That's what Wheeze the Juice is. Wheeze the Juice. That's a Pauly Shore thing, man.
Pauly Shore thing. I missed that, but congratulations on Spider D. That was really good. Spider D.
Yeah, I just knew it was like Grandmaster Flash or something.
Oh, yeah, it's the same era. That's my favorite era of hip hop. I grew up with all those records.
Yeah, the early stuff.
Oh my God, I love them all so much. And Spider D he did that Smurfies dance, and I knew it. I was like, yes, y'all, let's Smurf it up. And I was like, that's going to be my hook right there.
The Fat Boys was from back then too, wasn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. And their first couple records, their first 12 inches were really good. They weren't even called the Fat Boys at first, That was that they had one successful record that was called Fat Boys, and so everyone said, "Oh, you're the Fat Boys group? Yeah, that's us." So they changed their name to the name of their first successful record. Because everything was done by the 12-inch single back then. Nobody had an album.
Right. Well,
you had an album, so all you had was your single, and your picture wasn't on it. So all people knew was the name of your record. So yeah, those early days of hip hop were wonderful.
Well, yeah, it was raw.
It was very raw, and it was like very indie. You could print 1,000 of your 12 inches and get them into DJs. Maybe someone would hear about you.
I remember seeing it was like a local magazine show about scratching.
Mm-hmm.
I was, oh, cool, man! Somebody came up with a sound, and of course, I was just like, "You're not supposed to do that to your records. You're going to ruin your records that way."
Don't tell your parents.
Yeah.
Don't tell your parents.
I have to get out, my friends.
Okay.
Yeah. John's going to take off, and then I want to make sure we get Magna.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get into that.
So yeah,
So everybody in the chat, get on my list, get on the mailing list for Tales of Zero. We're launching on the 15th, but get on now just so you get all the updates, okay?
Yeah, I just did.
Awesome.
I should be getting those. Everything in my mail anymore is the go-go reminder. I'm on so many of these things, and this one, of course, I can't remember where. I think it was on Jimmy Reyes' show. I picked this up.
Yeah, this looks insane. I love this.
And for one reason and one reason only. What's that, John?
I think you like the ginger.
It's the ginger. It's that ginger in the overalls, man.
And the overalls.
But yeah, this looks really good. I mean, this artwork on here is just nuts.
Yeah, it looks great.
I appreciate it.
You have one. I mean, I just want to make sure I've got my talent in the right place. Are you writing or drawing? I think you're writing.
I am writing.
Yeah.
So I created the story and I wrote it, but I've been fortunate enough just to work with some really talented artists.
Now, how long have you been in comic books, either as an amateur or a pro, or do you have any other titles to?
Well, so I was first published in the mid-'90s.
Okay.
when I was in college, a buddy of mine, and I was living in Los Angeles at the time. I was born out there in LA, and a buddy of mine, he got a job over at Motown. They actually set up an animation division, and it was set up by Michael Davis, who was one of the Milestone founders. And Motown is in. They had an office at the time in the Miracle Mile area in LA. And
I remember you telling me about this, and I couldn't say anything at the time because I was at work, I was listening. But I love this story. Sorry.
No, definitely. And my buddy got me on board. I was basically Michael Davis's gopher, but I was always pitching him. I'm just constantly pitching him ideas. He's like, listen, he's like, I don't have a shortage of ideas. He's like, you just need you to just kind of go get that coffee that I need.
Yeah. Right.
And kind of long story short, the solicitations for one of the books called Trouble Man had already been submitted to Diamond, and then the writer ghosted. So, my boss said, hey, on a Thursday, I'll never forget, he told me, you're going to come back on Tuesday. You're going to come back with a full script for the first issue, and you're going to come back with rest of the story arc that's already. And you got to understand, there was already some art that had been created, so the writer had kind of started, but was going in kind of like a funky direction. So I think he just kind of figured, I'm going to jump off this ship. But I had been working with the creator, who was actually the artist, and already had his buy-in. I thought what we thought was that was the third issue, better direction to go with the story. So I was able to come back that Tuesday with a script that my boss liked. He didn't find out till years later that I actually had most of it already written before he even asked me.
Yeah.
I'm a writer. I write, and it was a story that I loved. So I was writing it just more for the exercise of writing, and also for my buddy Chuck Drost, just so he could have some material, for the future, in terms of developing the story. But really, if it's like Men in Black met Mobius, that's kind of what this, this story, kind of is. So it's kind of like an intergalactic space force.
Okay.
But when you also have, these troublemen, and they're the ones that, kind of take these really strange and difficult intergalactic cases. They're somewhat mysteries in and of themselves. So part of the story was unfolded in the mystery of the agents, as well as, kind of a story that was at hand. So only 3 issues came out. It was supposed to be a 4-issue miniseries. This was the last miniseries that Motown Machine Works put out before decided that they were going to kind of close the door on comic books. Because, that was in the mid-'90s, so they got in a couple of years earlier on the strength of what Image was doing, and figuring that you're gonna get we'll make $1 million books and things like of that nature, but that market imploded, as we all know. So by the time their books hit the shelves, the $1 million books were really no more. I mean, Spawn was still doing big things. There were a couple books that were still doing really well, but the market, once people figured out that comics are not a store of value, at least not comics where a whole bunch of them have been printed. That whole thing unfortunately kind of went away. But I loved it. I've loved comics all my life. My favorite medium. So now, this with everything that's going on with CG, I've got the opportunity, just like you guys, to make comics and to get them out there to folks and to share them with people and also to pick up other people's cool projects. So I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it.
Exactly.
Yeah, and everybody is so accessible. It's not like you have to, beg and scratch and claw and go to conventions and convince people that you're worth your weight to go and then finally get into one of the big 2 or even a best way to put it, just like a lower tier publisher to learn the history. You can do this.
Exactly.
I think it's telling that, Jason Fabuk, he just had the three Jokers, the literal home run of the year. Like
Yeah.
the critical, public, and financial hit.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's what comics should be. A hit of that caliber is what everyone should keep the dream alive. If we had 2, 5, 6 books of that factor a year, the industry would be doing a lot better, right?
Yes.
Yeah, well, if they
So
knew
we need hits, right? So here he is. He delivers it. And he's like, my next one's going to be crowdfunded.
Boom.
So what does that tell you?
Boom.
Oh, yeah, no. Yeah,
Good for him.
We're the ones in the place to be. We're the ones in the place to be.
Oh, this is the future of the industry. I mean, the thing is, we're having a hand in it right now, but it's not just the comic book. It's not just those that are producing comics. It's folks like you, Dave, who have shows. It's people that retweet. I mean, the industry has completely changed.
Right.
And it's like, and I think for the better. It gives everybody.
I'm trying to get it out on Minds and MeWe and CloutHub and all these other ones, because I know that it's not always going to decentralize. It's the same thing that makes Bitcoin work. It's the same thing that's going to make this work over something centralized, where one person tells you what's going to happen, and you don't even know if they know what they're talking about. When I was discussing this with my with my sister, and it's basically what it was is the people that are in charge did not get there from the bottom rung. They didn't go get coffee for anybody. They didn't talk to any of these creators, and they didn't understand. They don't even know what the mood in the office is supposed to be. Let alone how to publish a comic book.
They don't even know who their fans are.
Well, no, clearly not. Otherwise, it wouldn't be like. What was the? I keep seeing this image come up on Twitter over and over again. I'm not going to go try to find it because I won't be able to listen to your story. But the one where it's the same girl with the same hair and the same color and the same everything as the Green Lantern, as the High Republic chick, as the one I'm talking about?
Yeah. It's like they have one prototype of what a cool looking girl protagonist is going to look like, and it's in everything. So it becomes meaningless. If it's the same same image is in everything, it doesn't mean anything.
This is what it just odd to think about it. This one person who looks the same in every one of these books is what diversification looks like.
Yeah. No,
they all look like this one person. Okay, that doesn't even make sense.
No,
that 2 + 2 = 5 moment.
Well, and that's also what happens when the creativity is gone, when the love for the projects are gone, and that's the reason why I stopped collecting the Big Two's books. I'm like, when I'm more invested in the characters than they are, when I care more about, I shouldn't pick up a person's book, and I shouldn't love their property more than they do. I said, at this point, I can't invest in this anymore. I said, because I'm more invested. I'm more heartbroken about what they're doing to their characters than they are. So I said, you know what? I vote with my dollars. I'm not going to complain about it. I'm going to vote with my dollars and buy books from folks who actually love what they're doing and are making stuff. That's, at the end of the day, it's escapism.
Yeah.
And somewhere down the road that was forgotten. People think this is a political vehicle, or they think, you know what? Politics is in front of all of us, and we're living in the midst of it all the time. I don't want it, and I don't want anybody's political opinion in the books. I want to be entertained. Tell me a great story, whether it's horror or humor or fantasy. Just tell me a good story.
Yep.
There is a way.
It all comes down to that. It all comes down to the storyteller's art, right? That's all it ever is.
Right, but I also want to keep my local, my local store available.
Yeah. Well, one thing I've really
the
liked.
The only way I could do it, because the guy in Heroinburg and I, incidentally, if you guys want to see her stuff, it's right there. There's the link to her site.
Well, she has incredible taste in music. That's as straight.
I'm reading that. Yeah, you guys all. Yeah. You guys are like musical siblings over there.
Very few people even care about old Miami-based 12 inches, so it's a rare person. It's a rare person when you meet somebody who's into that.
I'm still gonna be patting myself on
the original 808.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, they're so good.
I'm still gonna be patting myself on the back a week from now for guessing that right. Mm-hmm. But But yeah, Heroin and I both know the same. We both shop at the same comic book shop, which isn't too far away from us. And
Yeah.
Colin has done a really good job keeping his stuff together in the middle of all this. He's got his, exactly, right there. Yeah, he sells some toys, but it's not full of toys. He's got a lot of boxes of some older stuff that I can go and try to complete collections that I haven't been into for a while. I'll ask him his opinion on things. I want something different or whatever. But there's a ton of trade paperbacks. I can still get into the old stuff without, without worrying about picking up something new that's just terrible.
Exactly.
Like actually, over there. I had one of the things that I do. I try to get homework. Somebody will recommend something for me to go buy, and I have to go do that. But Descender. I think it was from Image. I got the first couple of books of that. That was really good. That whole thing was done in watercolor.
Oh, really?
Cool.
If you haven't seen it, it's really worth taking a look at. But that's part of the point of this. It'll be like, tell us about your project. How did you work? Your favorite artist influence, favorite comic, please comic. How do you like to work tools digitally or whatever? And then give me a homework assignment so that I can go get something from Colin.
Yeah.
Well, I'll give you one. This is the series that I get excited to pick this up the way I was excited to get a new X-Men when I was 11, is The Green Lantern by Liam Sharp and Grant Morrison. I bought every single issue from my comic shop as it's come out, and they're almost to 24, and it's going to stop at 24. But
is it?
It is so good, and it is
Really?
this thing where like the writer and the artist are each operating at such a high level, and it is just like hip hop. It's like the writer is like, well, I say this is going to happen. I wonder what the artist will do, and then the artist will, well, I can do that next, and so they just keep going, and then bouncing off each other. The energy and the fun of what they're doing is so contagious. So Grant Morrison, just think about Grant Morrison, like he could imagine anything, right? So then you put him with an artist who can draw anything, and then you put him with a character like Green Lantern who can follow into multiverse, can move, he can go anywhere. And so they're just on a roll. It's so fun to read, and it's not easy to read either because they're just willing to take it to so many oblique places, and in the meantime, they've gone through like all the eras of Green Lantern, like the Neil Adams era, all these eras, and they will let the art style morph into one of those eras, and then the art style will morph into another era, and it's like playing with every element of comics, playing with the lettering, playing with the rendering, and they're just having so much fun. It is just awesome.
That sounds cool.
So and it's the thing, like, go buy the floppies. Don't get the trade. Like, go get the floppies because
if I can find them. Yeah, I mean,
but they're around. They're around. Some of my store still has number 1. It came out a year and a half ago.
All right. Yeah. I'll make him look for it. I don't want to go.
But if you had to read just one issue, read the issue number 3 of the first, because they're calling it 2 seasons, but issue number 3, because Grant Morrison, when it came out, Grant Morrison said, well, we're going to take Green Lantern back to his roots. He's just going to be an intergalactic space cop, and this is going to be like a police procedural in space. And that was classic misdirection. That is nothing like what they did. So he said they were going to do that, and then the episode, it was like episode 3, Green Lantern arrests God. And so the cover is Green Lantern arrests God, and let me tell you, you will love it.
How does that
Because
work?
of course it doesn't. That's again misdirection. That's what's on the cover. You see, it's like there's so many levels of misdirection. Like when you get to the end of that book, Green Lantern arrests God in quotes, you will love it. It's so smart. It's so smart. Because of course he doesn't arrest God. That's the whole point.
I have it down on my stickies to go grab.
It's really good. It's really good.
And I'm going to be out and about tomorrow. I've got a couple of places to go, so hopefully I'll be able to swing by and do that while it's fresh in memory.
Yeah, nice. That's a great one. And they're all good, but that one is a standalone read that you'll get the gist of what they're trying to do.
Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, like I said, I don't want to grab something new that's going to absolutely suck. While I was in there once, I grabbed something called Triple Helix that John Byrne did for IDW, and the only reason I got it was because the name grabbed me. The idea not a double helix, but a triple helix, like a twist on the whole mutant, literally twist on the whole mutant thing. And I got like halfway into it, and they're fighting. Like all of his super groups kind of look the same. There's a beast type character. There's it's just like this could have been the X-Men if nobody had thought of the X-Men. And then the bad guys were called Rock, Paper, and Scissors.
Stretching.
Yeah.
Oh man. And John Byrne was, he was one of my favorites back in the day, man.
Writing for him too. You know what I mean? It was John Byrne, Chris Claremont. So it's like Bernie Taupin and Elton John.
Yeah. Well, Chris Claremont, he did that episode. They did one issue of the New Mutants, right? About a year ago, they did one where they put Sienkiewicz and Claremont together for a single issue. Shocker, it was really good. Like, why can't you just have them back on the book?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? That's like
why are you trying to do something that doesn't work?
That's what I'm saying. You have Eric B. and Rakim. You have them, but you won't let them make records. Okay.
Yeah.
Why not? You have Sienkiewicz, you have Claremont, you put them together. It's magic. Why aren't you doing that?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna definitely grab that. I'm gonna wear my Comicsgate socks.
Nice.
Those came in. That was some swag.
Yeah, I'll just be glad if we find 100 people that want to read my book.
Well, you got to find 99.
Yeah,
I'm gonna want it.
Oh, that's sweet. But Julius Freeman, his model is really good. With the Ghetto Dragon, he's like, if you can just get the first one out, get it in people's hands, then build the market for the second one. It's like start small and build, right?
Well,
that's all we're all trying to do. Start small and build. That's all you can do.
And you let people know that you deliver.
That you're real. Yep. That you're real, and you show them that you're not going to insult their intelligence. You're going to take them on a fun ride.
Exactly.
And
that's
leave them wanting more. That's the whole game. If you pull that off, you're in the major leagues, right? Because so many of the big two aren't doing that. So
that's what I'm trying to do is write a story that makes sense. I don't want to have something that reminds me of a Neil Breen movie. You know what I mean? Like, does anybody know that name?
No.
Which movie?
Neil Breen. He's a director. He makes his own movies. They are so bad, they're worth watching.
Oh, I don't think I've seen it.
It's like watching. It was like Birdemic or something like that, or like the Room.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's people who are into like bad movies, plot holes, or something like that. People would never do that. No human being would make that choice that was just made right here.
Yeah. So John, this book is complete. It's ready to go.
Yes, sir.
That's so exciting.
Yeah. So we're just getting the PDF together for printing now because the campaign went into demand this morning.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So now it's a matter of getting the print files finalized, getting a proof copy for the 3 different versions that you can get, and then once we do that, I'm going to order the books. And whatever overage we have, that'll dictate how long, this stays in demand.
Yep.
Yeah. So when you decide to do your print run, is it the way that you're picking your number? Is it a halfway point between how many I can afford, how many people backed it? It's going to be in demand for so long, or I want to have some left over so that when I do the second book, I can put that as part of the tier. There's still some issue ones left.
So I wanted to have a certain number on hand, knowing that it would be more than what this campaign would do.
Right.
Kind of the thought process is, there's a volume 2 coming out later this year. And in between that, the second volume of Black Tiger is going to come out. So my anticipation is to continue to build the fan base.
Right.
Like, for instance, after this, Black Tiger's coming out. So for those that didn't get 1, they're going to need to get 1 and 2. To be so I want to, but Black Tiger, all the 1, it's all sold out. So I'm going to have to reprint 1. So I was like, well, you know what? Let me print more. I didn't. This is all new to me. I'm putting my toes in the water, and I didn't want to end up with an apartment filled with comics that weren't moving anywhere. But I spoke with like Phil Diaz and some other folks. So I'll probably order, somewhere in the range of, and it's a lot, maybe 400 to 500, with the expectation that over time, especially as the subsequent campaigns come out, people will want, the first issue as well as the second issue as more people come on board. Because it's, when you think about it, the great thing about these campaigns, the numbers that you need to really make this work, it's very doable. It's just a challenge because it's almost like one by one you're getting the people. But like the folks that back Black Tiger, they've been gracious. They liked it and they're backing this.
Yep.
And then I've added some more folks. So the Black Tiger campaign, I think I did about 2,500 for the campaign, and then maybe doubled that for the in-demand period. So, it did about 5,600 all in. So this one did about 8,000 during the campaign. And I'm hoping, I don't know if I'll be able to double that, but hoping to at least get over the 10,000 mark by the time it's all said and done. And if I can just keep steadily growing with each campaign, that would be a big win.
Exactly. That's all you do.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
It's a process, so it's just gotta, make stuff that you love.
Yeah.
And then just continue to share.
Yeah, and make it easy for someone to get on board with you. Don't put obstacles in the way of someone who says, "Oh, can I see a second? Can I take another look at that?" That person who takes a second look, you want them to step right on board. There should be no obstacle between you and me. Like, if you're the least bit interested, get on board.
Get on board. Yeah.
That's why I feel like trying to kind of get over the growing pains of some of these hashtag wars and turf wars of like which group are you with and who's against who. We got to move past that because we need the customer to feel that when they got on board with us, it's safe. We're going to take you on an enjoyable journey. You're not going to find 6 months ago that this group was feuding with this group. It's like, who cares?
That's irrelevant.
The customer does not care.
Yeah, it's absolutely irrelevant. And that shouldn't even come into the conversation.
Exactly. So,
and if nothing else, we all know how challenging it is to build audience.
Yes.
We build. Everyone's building their own individual audience, and I think it's, finding a better way for us to start sharing audiences as well.
Totally.
Because a number of people, they'll find a book and, there's so many shows and there's so many books out there. It's so easy to miss stuff. It's so easy to miss things.
That's right.
Let's check out this video if we can.
Yes, sir.
Let's see.
Welcome to Tree City, Idaho. The year is 1942. Spring is in the air, but times are tense as the world finds itself at war. While high school senior Kari Skogsholm finds her provincial life unfulfilling, her parents are eager to keep their lives and, most importantly, their extraordinary daughter under the radar as long as they can. But time is not on their side. They prepare to flee to protect Kari, but something within her compels her to stay and take a stand. It's time to learn truths that have been kept from her, be it out of love or fear or something else. It's time to answer the calling upon her life, whatever that may be. So her journey begins, and things would never be the same. But Kari's story finds its roots millennia prior. The men of renown, known as the sons of God, and the daughters of men in the first and second heavens, joined with raised arms one last time, combining all the power that they had to command. In the heavens, above the world, the last stand of these mighty men was also the last appearance of the agents of destruction until their reemergence in 1942. Kari must learn the truth about herself, determine the end game of these supernatural agents of destruction, and how to stop them before all is lost.
Yes, sir.
That is quite a yarn.
Looks great.
You got like, yeah.
Yeah, it really looks good. I think the character designs and the poses and everything are just really great.
No, I appreciate that. It's at the end of the day, when you're really unconstrained with comics. What I love so much about comics, it's your imagination, and of course, page rate. Me working with artists, but other than that, just kind of like with your story, I want to go all over the place. I want it to be a fast-paced, sensical, fun story so that people can really enjoy the ride, really get some fun, some fun adventures, a few really nice surprises in there, and not feel like they're just, that they paid a whole bunch of money to look at a bunch of talking heads.
Yeah, I know. I've got a couple other projects that I have on the side plate that I'm going to move to the center, but one of them is it's a Western with a kung fu Western, and I'm really looking forward to it. And I do storyboards for all my books, but yeah, when you get a good action scene, it's so satisfying to read, right?
Yeah.
When there's movement and there's a sense of weight, and when an impact actually feels like a hit, and you feel the weight of someone getting knocked to a wall or something. Just the art of pulling that off once really effectively in a book is like so satisfying.
Oh, it
if you
really
can get
is.
there. If you can get there,
That's challenging, and it's like, how it is. I mean, when you're putting the thumbnails together for your book,
Exactly.
I mean, you're choreographing, and you're basically directing.
I don't want to say it's going to be tough.
That's
but
right.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
And I think it's funny how do you ever see the old anime I watched it the other day, Project A-ko?
Yeah.
That's a great example of like how a fight scene can be realistic or non-realistic. Like the fight scenes in Project A-ko are completely non-realistic because a person with no armor getting knocked through a wall would get hurt. But on the other hand, the fight scenes in Project A-ko are entirely realistic. You know what I mean? In the sense of kinetic energy. When something moves this way and is deflected, so it's that beautiful tension between there's something so non-real about this, but there's something so utterly real about the kinetic energy and the force, the direction of force when it's reversed on the
realistic
person.
physics, but not realistic as far
Right,
as who's going to get their back
I
broken
think
by.
that's been so lost. Like when you see
Yeah.
fight scenes in movies, no one's thinking about where's weight. Where's the weight of the character moving? How would the person dodge that blow, but then push the weight back on the person? And of course, in martial arts or in manga, it's like second nature to think that. But I feel like a lot of our big screen blockbuster entertainment, that's lost completely. No one thinks about the weight of the character as it presses on the other character. They'll just do it in post. They'll just do it in post. They'll just knock down a wall or like vaporize a building, and So
Well, that
comics
used
is
to
that
be
great
that
thing
used to
where
be
you
in
do
art
that.
and comics. That used to be a big art in comics.
Exactly.
I
Kirby.
remember because my buddy, he collected Daredevil, so he had like the Miller run of Daredevil.
Exactly.
Man, you look at some of those fights, you're just like, oh wow.
Yep.
I mean, you're like, that looked real.
Yep.
I mean, it's like, of course, there's the the fantastical elements to it, but like you said, it's like the physics. If somebody were able to do that move, that would be it.
And
that would be the impact.
Exactly. And the first 3 or 4 or 5 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the original ones. If you've ever read those, the Mirage ones in black and white, the fights in there are insane. They're so good. They're so good because they were based on Frank Miller, and they were based on, like they were studying Frank Miller's Ronin. And that was another one where like, okay, they're turtles. All right, they can jump on buildings. Okay, this is ridiculous. But then as soon as the fight goes down, it's so real. And every hit has weight. When someone gets cut with a sword, it leaves a mark that continues to bleed for the rest of the scene, which is unheard of, that like wounds persist. But in the original Turtles, like people bleed, people get hurt. It's like, I remember reading that as a kid, and, before they became like a kiddie property, and it was an intense, there was more blood and actual like physical consequence in that story than anything that DC and Marvel had done,
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
But then of course it changed a little bit. But yeah, those fight scenes are really something to study. So yeah, I'm excited to see. I'll definitely going to back this, and I want to see what you did. Just from what I could see, I see that element right away. Like how do you knock a wolf through the top of a barn?
Yeah.
Well, exactly the way you knock a wolf through the top of the barn. Like it's making it believable, and it's making the reader feel the pow. That's
exactly.
The art. That's the art right there.
When you're dealing with superhuman beings, a lot of that stuff can be explained away. I know what you're talking about, and it's one of the things that makes me think that the project I'm trying to get into is going to be I don't want to say overly ambitious. I know that Julius was telling me, and I agree, that there are some things that are just going to have to be given up, that you can't be realistic about everything, otherwise it's not going to be exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the aspects is, I'm going to see if I can share this real quick. Make sure I'm sharing the right screen. I'll bring. Did you guys? I mean, I know I already backed back. I know that I did that. But I want to make sure that you're getting enough play on this.
Oh yeah, no, I think we've had a good one. We should probably wrap up. I mean, I'm gonna have to wrap up around midnight my time. But
Yeah.
this has been good. I feel like definitely the three of us, Don, John, myself, like, yeah, we had time to just hang and talk about whatever comes to mind, but also talk about the book.
This is the character that I have is using. I think Julius actually looked the name of it up as a manriki, which is a chain whip, but it's not on a chain. It's supposed to be this straight jacket that's got the straps that hang. It's supposed to keep you like this.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much detail in the story and the way that this thing actually works. Sometimes I wonder if I'm getting a little bit too
Using
involved.
your arm to speed up
Check
the
how this-
momentum of the whip under the armpit,
How he uses this thing.
over the elbow,
Oh yeah, you got to do this.
step,
Yeah.
Right.
You actually need to do this.
step, over
If
the
this
elbow.
was done well in sequential art, it'd be hypnotic.
But there's like all these other moves. Like he puts it around his neck
the armpit.
and rolls, and it's
Over
just
the
he's in
elbow.
tempo with this thing
Armpit,
so much that like,
elbow,
I'm going to be referring to this
Armpit.
video quite a bit.
elbow, faster and faster.
But at the same time, it's
Be able to kill it at a moment's notice. Catch it in
my
the hand. This is an extension of your own body.
Yeah, of course, exactly. It's physics, right? He's
Right.
got all that kinetic energy, and then he could completely silence it.
right.
That's awesome.
Wait,
Check it. He puts it around his neck, I think.
cradle, flip it, other direction. Armpit, cradle, flip, switch.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I know. And then there's
Body control,
all this
rolling
stuff.
with the whip. Keep the
So there's another martial. There's also like another martial arts movie. There's the 38th or the 38th temple or 36th temple or something like that.
roll again. It's still going.
I'll dump that real quick. Where the character is working at a Shaolin temple. He's a con man that gets sent there as a form of punishment, and he has to put the scaffolding together
Mm-hmm.
using reeds to do it. And he's using these reeds, and he's at the same time he's watching the the class down at the bottom, and he's tying them up and then doing this thing and tying them up, and I saw that and I was like, that is so cool. Like somebody comes at you with a swing, and you can catch it and tie them up and throw them over this way or something.
Right.
Like that. I'm like, well, if he's got these straps on him with these hooks on the end, that's going to be another aspect to it. I just keep going in this little, drilling down deeper and deeper into how thing is going to look. And then I stop and I go, are you going to actually be able to draw that in such a way that people understand what just happened? You're going to have one panel with the hand getting caught, and then another panel with the flip, and then
That's
try to
fine.
make it and try to make it like you're not just drawing the panel. You have to choreograph the thing and make it look like, this could actually happen.
Yeah.
Comics
Yeah,
are perfect for that.
In my book, it's called El Sure Shot. I'm gonna release it next year. There's a fight scene on a garden rooftop that it's all done with like a rake, a trowel, a bucket. So you have these two
Right.
sort of kung fu, and it's like whatever garden object they can grab, that's what's there.
That's
And
what
so-
that's what they use. That's what a
And so it's like that's the fun part,
Yeah.
is like watching these people trying to get the best of each other with a rake, a bucket,
Well,
and
yeah,
the fun
that's-
of that,
it's
the
a-
fun of that.
That's a Jackie Chan film.
Yep, exactly.
This garbage can, this stool, this table, or whatever.
Yep.
He ends up
So
using.
fun, right?
But that's the fun of martial arts too, because at the end of the day, these were farmers. These were
Right.
people that had to protect their own land from bandits and raiders. So I mean, if you're using farm equipment to defend yourself,
Yeah,
That's where a lot of
these
those
different,
where a lot
these
of those
different
weapons
villages,
came from.
people built systems. They built systems of martial arts, and that my first book, Black Tiger, we're getting more into to elements of that in this next the next volumes. You know, kind of
awesome. I gotta check that out.
You know, because Black Tiger is a real form of kung fu.
Right.
You know, it's interesting because it's derived from a system, but then that system was actually kind of lost in China, I think, kind of during the kind of Cultural Revolution time. So the system actually exists here in the States, and they're actually bringing it back to China.
Yeah.
You know, I was talking with one of the Grand Masters.
That's odd. No, not
so
odd,
cool.
but I mean, it's like cool that they're doing that. It got lost over there, and we know.
Yeah. And so like, there was basically a dude that, you know, that escaped, and he came to the States, and he kept the system alive.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, is this, we're looking at Herwenberg right now, because I'm going to have to go in a couple minutes. But is Herwenberg the writer, the artist of this?
I'm not sure. I mean, I'd have to go.
She's in the chat, right? I mean, because this looks
She
incredible.
might be. I wasn't sure. She said she got a run of Helena talking about.
No, she was talking about a run of comics there.
Right, and I thought she had to leave. So I was like, thanks for hanging out.
This looks good.
This looks really good. I need more information on this.
Yeah, seriously.
And there is a, like, they're doing video, like that her and her friends and stuff. They like dress up and like have
really?
They have, like special effects and stuff. Yeah, I'll
All right,
I'll find it.
we got to learn more about this. And as it's been stated before, she has impeccable taste in electro hip hop. So
Right.
That's a beginning of a beautiful friendship right there. All right, Dave, I'm gonna get going. I'm gonna post it. I'm gonna show you this picture though. I finished the Battlestar Galactica.
I'm sorry, didn't start it up again. Sorry
So here,
about
let me share my camera just for a second. I'm gonna show you the Battlestar Galactica piece that I did.
that. Okay.
You ready? Ooh.
Whoops.
That's fine.
That was me.
So the funny thing is, like, I'm really not an artist. Like, I draw because I enjoy it, and I also draw because I'm not that good at it. But when I get something that looks kind of good, I feel pretty good. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
for me, this is like a great drawing. For a really good artist, this is
Nice.
just an okay drawing. But I get excited because I'm like, damn, I did that. That's
Well,
pretty
if
good.
it's I mean, if it's better than what if it's better than what you're used to seeing, and you see improvement from your last drawing,
yeah.
and you have every reason to feel good about it.
And I'm not competing with anybody. You know, I don't profess to be an artist. So every little skill I gained is just gravy. And then I put it into my, like you were saying, I put it into my layouts and my storyboards for the next project and make my
There you
layouts
go.
better, you know?
Yeah,
That's awesome.
there are some artists that have just a natural talent for design and composition, and color, and things like that. I honestly don't know that I'm one of those. I always tried to get down on the technical aspect, anatomy and things like that, and concentrate on that so much that when it came time to fit all these characters together, and I know it's going to be a challenge on this next one, that it's going to be a fight for me to put this guy needs to be in the foreground. Stop zeroing in on these details that nobody's going to care about because it's going to be like over here on this side of the panel or whatever, and where it looks like you have that part already figured out. The girls in the foreground, the Vipers in the background, and then you have I'm assuming is a window.
Yeah, that's sort of the hangar where the ships fly in and out. But I just needed that to tie it together. Otherwise, there was no. I'm not going to draw a detailed background, but that little shape kind of pulled it together.
Yeah. They that's something that that's taught in a lot of composition art classes and things. I don't know if you've ever taken any.
No, I mean, I've always loved to draw, and I've taken whatever I can, but I'm pretty self-taught. You know, I've never been good enough to be anything special at that. But I think I am a good writer. Oh, hey, that's Athena.
Yeah.
I mean, that was an attempt at Athena. I didn't try to do a likeness of the actress, and she is a beautiful actress. But this is based on a picture of Athena.
Yeah, she's kind of like throwing her hair back.
Yeah, no, you can find the reference. You know, it's the actress who played Athena did this exact pose. And so I referenced the Viper from a model kit, and then I referenced her from a publicity photo. But of course, they weren't in the same picture, so I had to merge them into the picture. And here, I'll show you the pencils. So, and none of this is traced, right? It's funny just because, so this is all freehand, right?
Yeah.
So this is the pencil.
That's awesome, man.
You know, and then I put the pencil on the light box, and then I do the inks with the light box.
I have a light box that I stole from a place I used to work in 1999. They said I was supposed to give it back before I left. I was like, "Can I take this home and borrow it?" Yes, but give it back. And then they forgot about it.
Well, mine I got at a thrift store for $6. It's the Crayola like light box for 12-year-olds.
Hey,
And boy, if it doesn't work just fine.
Exactly. You're like, you're good. You got your light box. You're
you'll be
fine.
making your money back in no time.
It totally works
Outside
great.
investment.
It's like, it's ridiculous. I was like, oh, wow. And then you go back and I look at old comics and I see, oh, okay, I see that now. I see that building. I see that F-16 Eagle. You know, I sort of see how often the light box was used, you know,
Yeah.
to
Right.
put an object in the panel and to make it believable, you know.
Yeah, which is fine.
Which is fine. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's totally fine because rendering that thing, it's way more than tracing because you actually have to make it look like it has dimension.
Yeah.
So
That's
the
true.
fun part about the light box is how to, like, here, I'll show my picture again. Not that I'm the greatest at all, but I'm, you know, in being self-taught, I learned stuff, you know, and that's probably fundamental. But like, you know, look at what I had to do to those engines, you know, to make them look like it's closer to you than the tail fin. You know what I mean? Like that's a lot more than just tracing.
That's
You
good
know?
stuff, man.
You know,
Hey,
so it's
I'm
funny.
trying to-
Yeah.
You figure out what you have to do to make it look, to make it believable. But I want to learn a lot more about inking. You know, that's something.
There it is.
That's
Let's
why
see
I
that
called
one
my.
more time.
Oh yeah, you want to see my picture?
Yeah.
Hold on, sure. Hold on. Oops.
Yeah, get into the turbofan there.
Yeah,
or
so it's
what
like
would be a turbofan.
so you could, you know, so a light box you could say is used for tracing, but tracing is just going to give you an outline. You know, all the texturing is what makes it believable. And so, yeah, and then, you know, a lot of times what they would do back in the Marvel days is, you know, the penciler would give it to the inker and the inker would light box it right directly. So I mean, moving from pencils and then light boxing on top of pencils, that's just old school. That's nothing. That's just a technique that's as old as time, you know. So it's
Yeah.
fun to use those old techniques.
There's
Well
something
done.
that always bugged me about the new X-Wing design that I was never able to get around is that they take, instead of having, where's my hands? Instead of having one engine on top of the other where the wings split out.
Yeah, and it's half and half.
Yeah.
I know. It's a little funny because all those things, they come from Ralph McQuarrie's old sketches, you know? So when Ralph McQuarrie was first sketching the X-Wing, he drew it that way with half an engine on top. And then, of course, somebody was like, nah, it looks better this way. And then, like, 40 years later, some smart guy's like, hey, look what I found in the old Ralph McQuarrie vault. You know what I mean? And they're like, let's pay tribute to the genius who is Ralph McQuarrie. And he is a genius, but, like, maybe he didn't use that idea for a reason, you know?
Yeah, that was like a failed and bailed out attempt.
Yeah, so now they'll pull anything out of an old Ralph McQuarrie picture and put it into the new Star Wars property and be like, he had an ice spider in this picture. We've got an ice spider for you. You know, and some of that is great, and then some of that is a little bit like low-hanging fruit. You know,
There
just
is
borrow ideas from an established genius. Well, of course, Ralph McQuarrie's a genius. Of course, you know his bad ideas are better than some people's good ideas, but you know you can't mine that well forever.
Yeah.
Hey, Harrowenberg, if I was to play some video of yours up here, would you want me to do that? I'm probably just going to do it anyways. I mean, you don't put it out on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously, it's already out there for people to see.
I
I hate to do this though. I got a jam, guys.
Yeah, I gotta go too.
Okay.
But let's do another meetup and let's learn about Harrowenberg's project.
Yeah,
and-
seriously.
Yeah,
let's
well,
talk.
look,
It looks
yeah,
cool.
I mean, but this is like over 3 hours, and that's fine. I put the invite out to everybody, but I'm going to try to stick with this time slot once a week, like 9 on Sundays, because I think it fits with everybody's
I
coastal whatever.
most certainly couldn't stay the full 3 hours most days, but this time I am glad I did for sure because I think we
Well,
had a lot
yeah,
of fun.
I'm glad you did too.
Well, I think we had a lot of fun, and everyone got their time to just relax and
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Okay.
spiel a little bit. So this was really fun. But yeah, I'll come back again on another Sunday for sure. I might
Yeah,
only be able
yeah,
to
would
stay an
love
hour.
to.
Well, I definitely want to say, like, if I mean, she's got to have some camera equipment, or she wouldn't be able to do video. So next week, I'm just going to put the pressure on Harrowenberg. She's got to come back and talk about her stuff, because I mean, she's a local gal. I mean, she's what, one exit away from me, and I didn't even realize that. You know, just I'm like, oh, you don't put BURGH on the end of everything unless you're close to me. So,
All right.
yeah.
Well, thanks
so
for doing
we'll-
this idea
yeah,
crisis.
guys.
We appreciate you.
Yeah.
And
appreciate you.
I hope the projects turn out all really, really good, and maybe we'll just call it right here. This is
Okay.
DAVE with the CAE. That's the comic artist evolution.
All right. Thank
and
you.
guys
Dave.
have a good night. I will
Take care.
talk to you next week, hopefully.
Sounds good.
Peace
See you
out.
later.
Peace out.